Oh, well, welcome back to a special edition of the Ministry of Truth. Pretty sure a Facebook notification may or may not go out because I'm not sure how many notifications I have at this time, but at the point, I don't care. So, wow. Hello, people. Didn't expect y'all here so early. And why are you not showing up in the chat, side chat? Okay, this is not going to work. I hope it works. Sorry, guys. Apparently, there's not. There we go. There we go. What's up, JFK? Still waiting. It says like 7:30. Um, not really sure if they're gonna try and what's the word I was looking for? Uh, fuck. If they copyright strike me like CNN wants to, it's being simulcasted on Rumble. Uh, but I don't really pay attention to the Rumble comments. But if YouTube kicks me, then you guys know where I go. Oh, sweet. Thanks, Gomez. Thought maybe I used them all up. 'Cause I had that quick story this afternoon. How's everybody doing this afternoon, evening, depending on where you're at? Oh, I expect people to have plenty of popcorn ready. Did I miss anybody? Juniper Phoenix, Gomez, JFK, and Annoyed. Anybody else? And Eloy and Haystack. Good to see you, man. Come on, surely somebody's got to have a panel going on right now. Ooh, I might do this.
I'm at $10 million EBITDA. I'm at the phase that I want to sell my business. Why would I come to the vault? Because there's going to be plenty of private equity VC guys and plenty of other people that are going through that phase on what do you do when you want to sell your business? Maybe you're a PE guy. You want to find some businesses. They could be there. Maybe you're a CEO. You feel like you're not a good executive today. You're not a good CEO today. What do I do? That's what we're going to be talking about. So that's the reason why I ended up creating this event called the Vault Conference. And what do we do at the Vault Conference? Couple of things you need to know about. You will literally get a manual where every year we update this manual by 25% of the content. It's 200 pages. And you and I and 10,000 other people are going to go through those 200 pages, fill in strategies, case studies, where you will be broken apart with a handful of other people, and I'll put a case study on the wall, on the board, and you're going to have to sit there and say, what would you do? If this was the case, how would you handle it? And then we're going to come to you, you're going to give the answer, then you're going to build new relationships, new friendships. Many times people who go to the Vault Conference, they do business together, they become friends together. I can't tell you how many people, till today, they're on the same WhatsApp group from Class of Vault 2020, Class of Vault 2022, and they get contacts, relationships. Here's what I'm going through. How did you handle when you went through this? A lot of those things are going to happen at the Vault Conference, and obviously it helps the fact that we're doing it this year at Palm Beach Convention Center, because if you've never been to the Palm Beach Convention Center, you know who used to be here in Palm Beach? Every president would go to the Breakers Hotel, Flagler's, Kennedy's house, you name it, Palm Beach is that place. Where not millionaires go to. Millionaires could go to Vegas or New York. Billionaires kind of go to Palm Beach. And you're able to be around that kind of an environment and network with other people. So look, it really comes down to two choices.
Right, Yeti?
One, you can choose to be a Lone Ranger and go figure it out.
Because I was going to do
no problem.
I think it was CBS or
if
ABC.
you're sick and tired of being alone, going through these phases without somebody giving you direction, do yourself a favor, get registered, because this is the lowest price you're going to see for the Vault Conference. Prices are going to go up every single time because we haven't made the announcement with speakers yet. Every time we do, prices will go up. And this will sell out in no time. The last event we announced, it sold out 7 weeks before the event. Don't be the person that's like, I'll get registered later, I'll get registered later. If you're somebody that's a decision maker and you want to recreate your identity,
fair warning,
click on a link below
be
or
a lot
above,
of pausing.
get registered, commit. Let's spend the first week of September together at Palm Beach Convention Center and make that the beginning of the greatest years of your life.
Every expert who joins Minnect gets white glove service to build their profile, launch it, and scale it to millions of users and fans. Minnecting is super easy. No need for a computer or equipment. With just your phone, you can respond to your audience anywhere, anytime. In an Uber, waiting to board your flight in between
USA
meetings.
Today. All right.
You can respond in text or audio, take FaceTime calls directly in the app, and schedule and get paid all in one place.
Yeti.
It's that easy. Connecting is also really rewarding. You'll find the conversations on Connect deeply meaningful, and I think you'll have a lot of fun doing them. Join the world's most admired experts, executives, athletes, and creatives, and make Connect your new home.
Yo, this is the new interface for fucking YouTube on the PC.
So no matter where your opinions are, if you believe in freedom of speech, which we do, if you believe in debate, if you believe in discourse, if you believe that the way we get closer to the truth is by clash of ideas, if that's what you're all about, you got to respect it. And I applaud both of these guys for agreeing to do this.
Me. Myth, legend. Just kidding.
From holes to holes of power. Now that you were wrong about everything, I'm going to point that out. Yeah.
Oh, what's the old commercial? Who's that salsa from New York City? All right, remember, ladies and gentlemen, this is a strictly political chat show.
Stats, stories, how you use them.
T-minus 3, 2, 1, 0, and liftoff.
There we go. Hello, if you're on Rumble.
All we talk is money, honey. All we talk is money. All we talk is money. It's like bees to the honey.
Ooh.
Honey,
Woo-hoo.
honey,
Who's it?
honey, honey. It's the SARS cast, baby.
Hello, Bill. So, what are we going to talk about? Obviously, it's going to be the 2024 presidential debate. You're going to smoke and throw cup on you, or you're going to drink? Hello, Tanya. He must be waiting for it to start. Ooh.
Mr. President, in your daughter Ashley Biden's diary, she said you showered with her at an inappropriate age. Is this true? Why are you smiling like that? It's creepy, Mr. President. Please answer the question. Where are you going?
Guys, don't worry about it.
Where are you going to sniff some kids? Joe! Joseph!
Look at those little rascals. I just love penguins.
You know, you and me both.
Penguins.
Now on to the weather.
No, Jeff, not.
We're going to
like,
go live to
penguins,
Anthony D'Angelo. Anthony, how is the weather out there?
Really, Andy?
What up,
You act like
James?
you didn't go outside today. I mean, how'd you guys get to work? Did you teleport like they do in Star Trek?
No, I actually carpooled with Jessica.
Oh,
he
isn't
got
that
his
nice?
air?
So you went from an air-conditioned car to an air-conditioned office.
weird.
That's fantastic. Meanwhile, I'm out here sweating like a blind lesbian in a fish market.
Oh, jeez. Wow, that heat must be really getting to you, Anthony.
I guess this is the pregame.
Are you serious, Jessica?
Officially, I don't think it starts till
Newsflash,
7:30.
we live in South Florida, and it's mid-August, all right?
Which is
I'm
the way it looks.
sweating my balls off.
So we can talk.
Literally. Quick question. You ever watch those videos
Hello,
on YouTube
everyone.
where they're making those mozzarella balls, and they squeeze it and all that excess water falls out?
Yes.
Great, because that's exactly what my testicles look like. You think I'm playing games? Check this out.
Oh, don't do it.
Tired of you guys in there all cool, acting like you guys are freaking better than everybody. Look at this. Look at it. I don't even care. Look, dude, this is drenched.
you guys miss my,
drenched?
Whoa,
my
Anthony,
sock
that is a
yesterday?
little inappropriate for live television.
Really, Andy?
showed my
Inappropriate.
socks.
Let's talk about inappropriate. You know what inappropriate is? What you did with that 18-year-old Thai ladyboy in Vegas last year. Yeah, pretty sure your wife would love to hear about that story. And if she's watching, hi, Sarah. Hi.
Oh, Anthony, you are disgusting.
Oh, says the girl that has literally slept with everybody at Channel 7, including Juan, the janitor, which doesn't make any sense because he can't help your career. All right, hey, guys, real quick. You want to see an impression I've been working on?
No.
Oh, too bad, because I'm going to do it. Watch this. Guess who this is? Give up? This is my impression of Jessica in her I really want to get a promotion pose. Yeah. That's what's up, guys. The truth hurts. I know the truth hurts, but guess what? I don't give a shit. I don't need it. Yes, this is a zipper tie. I've been having it the whole time, but I'm going to go to Miami, and I'm going to rage. That's what's up. Hey, yo, my man. Bro, can I talk to you real quick? Are you holding anything? Are we live? Yeah, bro. Yes, we're live. Nobody watches Channel 7. Have you ever heard of Channel 7? I didn't think so. So, yo, what do you need? A little booger sugar?
What's up, K-Swizzle?
Did you ever think you would make it? I feel I'm so close I could taste sweet victory. I know this life meant for me. Yeah, why would you bet on Goliath when we got Bet David? Valuetainment, giving values contagious. This world of entrepreneurs, we get no value to hate it. I didn't run, homie, look what I become. I'm the one.
Okay, so tell me, are we live or no? Is this officially live? Yes, no, yes? Okay. We got a crowd here in the house. Make some noise. Awesome. So we did it slightly different today. We said we're not going to sell tickets, but it's only 25 people that bought merch who were able to bring a friend with them today, which is great
on Biden.
to have you here today. We got some friends from the VT team that are also here. And then obviously tonight's the heavyweight matchup between two guys, right? One guy whose name is Joseph Biden. He's going to be going up against a guy named Donald J. Trump, which we got
tonight?
That's tonight. It's going to happen in an hour.
Shit.
It's filled with a ton of people in the audience. Really, they got nobody, right? Zero. One person is going to be able to click.
Can you hear me when
see your light go off? They can't hear you anymore. There's a bunch of rules they created. We'll talk about here in a minute. But there's a matter of fact. Why don't we do this, Rob? Can you show us the rules on what they're going to be doing tonight during the debate?
They're going to mute Donald Trump.
The button, you're quiet, you're all this stuff. Watch this clip here. Tell me how you feel about this. Go ahead.
Are they going to show it?
Green lights. When they're on, they signal to the candidate his microphone is on. When the green lights are off, they signal to the candidate his microphone is off. Now I want to give you a sense of what it will look like for viewers at home if a candidate whose microphone is off interrupts a candidate whose microphone is on. So I'm standing at one podium, and I'll ask Phil to come in and take the other podium.
Sometimes I forget
and so let's
to
say
turn down
I'm
one of the
answering a
things
question.
over
My light is green, and I'm speaking. Phil's microphone is off, and his green lights are not illuminated.
Look at that whole
He's going to
CNN
interrupt
panel.
me as I'm speaking, and this is what it will sound like. My volume remains constant, while Phil's interruption can be difficult to understand.
It seems like an airline.
Let's try the opposite. My microphone is now on. Victor's microphone is off, and he's going to interrupt me. My volume remains
I have
constant,
a loud voice.
while Victor's interruption can be difficult to understand. Now, CNN's production team has shared this demonstration with the campaigns earlier today, and we're sharing it with you, our viewers, so everyone fully understands how tomorrow night will work. Now, we should note, by agreeing to participate in this debate, both campaigns and candidates have also agreed to abide by these rules. The CNN presidential debate airs live tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern.
What do you think about this? How do you feel about it? Tell me why you think it's lame. Why do you think it's lame?
Because then it's not a real debate.
Free speech? So what's wrong if they want to turn it off and you don't speak to be able to interrupt each other? Is that a bad thing? Is that a good thing? Actually say it. I'm curious. What do you think?
On TV right now.
Who actually thinks it can be good, the fact that they're muted? Tell me why you think it can be good.
I think that everyone needs a chance to
Speak up.
their opinion, and I think Donald Trump may be a little
Too pushy is what you're saying. Okay, what would you say back there?
I think it's going to help Trump because he's going to isolate Biden by himself to speak.
Now,
he's going to embarrass himself.
you think about it. Do you want a president that's going to be aggressive, such as in?
So then this is a question for you guys to be asking yourselves. Is how many of you buy into the idea that this was created with these guidelines by the Biden administration, speaking with CNN to bring this guideline and this setup to Trump, knowing he was going to say no, to say that Trump's avoiding a debate. Who thinks that could have been the reason? Who actually believes that? Do you actually believe that? Okay. So you guys think this happened because they thought Trump was going to be so pissed that he was going to say, there's no way I'm doing this, and they're going to say this guy's bailing, he doesn't want to debate Trump, and then he didn't fall for that's kind of what you guys are thinking. What do you think, Vinny? What do you think?
Well, first of all, I want you guys to know that for this entire week, have you ever heard this before? The president of the United States has not been presidenting. He's been at Camp David practicing for this one thing, to be the president. And I think when it comes down to this, history has shown, I want to see, especially if it's a one-on-one, I think it shows you can argue, you could combat. Because think about it, the presidents are in rooms with leaders and Xi Jinping or Putin.
Yeah, they're talking about whether or not
there's no mic shutting off. There's no hey I talk, hey you talk. I want them to go at it because guess what? I want to hear. I want to see the gloves come off because at the end of the day, this is a fight. We've seen 4 years of Trump. We've seen almost 4 years of Biden. I want to hear it because if they're moderating and they're going to be shutting off, I don't think it's going to be a fair fight. I don't. I genuinely don't. And who knows what drugs and people, guys, and people always say they set the bar low. Who knows what they're going to be pumping into to Biden? Because guess what? If you drug him up, you give him Adderall, you give him whatever, B12 shot, whatever the hell they're on, and he's good for the debate. And Adam, I know what you're going to say because you're like, give him the drug.
Give him the drug.
Yeah.
Which
is
give him the steroids. Give him the cocaine. Give him the Adderall.
Yeah, which is fun.
Every day, not just today.
Well, hear me out. It's fun, and we laugh or whatever. But if that's what you need to just make it for 90 minutes, you have no business being the president of the United States.
Have you ever been to Miami?
No, I have been to Miami.
Half the people in Miami need that every single day to survive.
But think about it. If he can't do it for 90
minutes,
and say what you want about Trump. Say what you want about Trump. All of us have been seeing. This guy travels the freaking country and stands up there. He just did a thing in Philly, I want to say a week ago. He was up there for 90 minutes just free ball, like spitting, just talking to people and doing this thing. And I think this country, guys, we're not dumb. Whoever you are, whoever you're voting for, you guys don't feel and see what's been you don't see it. Enough of the playing games. He can do it. Oh, he's an old man. Oh, his son. It's a love for his son. No. It's a shit show. We have to say it for what it is. And I would listen. Put Trump 1,000%. That's it. I'm going Trump.
Well, we know that, Vinny.
No, y'all know if Biden does
the debate
terrible,
tonight, who do you think's going to win? Who do you
he will be replaced.
It's not who's going to win or who do you want to win. The name of the game tonight is don't lose.
Or at the DNC, so they can just do a vote there.
Look somewhat alive. Oh, shit, he did it. He spoke. He was there. He did it.
We also get to find out who the VP is.
Literally, fall down the stairs. Don't stumble. Don't just.
But doesn't that set the bar low? Just the bar is already so low. He made it. And no, the bar's not low for Trump because he's the dude. What are you talking about? Look at all the shit that he's gone through from 2016 to get to where he's at right now on the stage. All their tactics failed. How many felonies and this and collusion, all that bullshit? We are here now. He made it. He survived. To say that, hey, at least, Biden looked alive tonight. What the hell? I don't want my leader to just be like, oh, one night he looked good. When 364 days, he looks like shit.
Yeah. Obviously, the audience, you agree with that, guys? Okay. I understand. That's why there's a lot of people who are politically homeless these days. So,
well, if you look at it, I think Biden's going to do the exact same thing that he did the State of the Union.
What is called the
did you see how he came out all hyper and amped up, right? And then he started
up until literally today, it's been primary season. And how do primaries work?
I have one of
you
two
play to your
ideas,
base. So Trump is rounding up the base. He's going
either Michelle Obama
rallies,
or
he's doing his thing.
Gavin
He's having
Newsom.
parades. He's signing chicks' tits.
There's a slight possibility they might throw Hillary in there.
Biden's out there, looking, doing the robot, standing still. He's breakdancing.
But Newsom has been doing the world tour.
Playing to your base.
Remember when he had the
girls,
president of China coming to San Fran?
Abortion, Roe versus Wade. But this is the beginning of when you have to pivot and move to the middle and begin what your general election strategy will be. We all know that 40+% of America is already in Trump's camp. We know that. And we already know that somehow 40+% of America is in Biden's camp. Do the math. There's actually something called the double haters. This is the
So we know they're going to bring up border. We know they're
going
to bring up the debt. They're going to bring up Israel,
than any
Ukraine.
election in
they're
modern history.
Likely
people are not happy with their options. this is what we got, America. I've been betting everybody left and right
with the border
that Biden
being
will be there on stage.
I know they're going to talk
Here he is.
about
People are going to
fentanyl.
have to pay. But what's the point? At this point, you're going to have to what's called move the movable middle. There's
Right,
how many
John?
people voted in the last election? I think 81 million for
Yeah.
Biden,
Yeah.
76 million for Trump. There's a
lot of dead people too.
Oh, sure.
A lot of deceased people going to the ballot.
Allegedly. This time around, people are not excited for this election. So what we know is that there's 6 swing states. You don't have to win millions of people's votes now. Listen, bro, you got to move 100,000 different people in 6 different swing states.
Okay.
So people in Pennsylvania, people in Michigan, people in Wisconsin, people in Georgia, people in Nevada, you know what's up. By the way, those people, there's going to be hundreds, follow the money, hundreds of millions of dollars of ads playing both sides the greatest hits. January 6th, Trump's a criminal. Those people are going to be inundated with indoctrination if they'd already know it. And then there's also Trump's going to do the same and just show Biden losing to a staircase again, or Biden losing to a bicycle.
But let me ask you a question. Okay, so we already know that the gameplay of the tactic of Joe Biden is going to be January 6th, insurrection. What's another one?
Abortion.
Oh yeah,
abortion. But then
democracy.
Convicted felon. But Joe Biden, what is Joe Biden going to say that he has achieved? What has this administration accomplished?
Democracy leads to tyranny, by the way.
Letting illegals come in from all walks of life to raise up crime, to literally, this is in the news every single day. I see this every single day. I know you guys do too. Underage girls, 13, 14, 12, being raped and murdered by illegals, and nobody says shit. How many times is Alejandro Mayorkas going to go to Congress and they're going to sit there and be like, you did this, you did this. Zero answers, questions
he won't answer a
answered,
question.
and
You've
nothing
seen that
happens.
before.
Let's play devil's advocate, Adam. You're Joe Biden's camp. What are you telling him to tout that he's done that's positive? Leave Trump out of it. I don't want to hear anything about Trump, COVID, economy, nothing. What has he done?
Well, there's a phrase in politics that if you have to sell what you've done, you probably haven't done a good job. So it's pure emotion at this point. So people, if you ask the average person out there, what's inflation in America? People are like, bro, inflation's like 25%. It's actually 3.5%. Did you know that? The stock market, the stock market is pummeling. Well, the stock market's actually up 25%. So people don't feel that it's actually going the right way in America.
Okay.
People don't actually feel that things are actually improving in America. But if you look at the data, things are doing okay. Unemployment is at 4%. Stock market's doing all right. But they also say there's a difference between Wall Street and Main Street. And Main Street just ain't feeling what Joe Biden is doing with Bidenomics.
And I see what you're saying, and I get that and this is my opinion, that's people that are making the money. The average person, the people that I know, the people that I talk to, they are struggling. When their groceries are 4 times as much. I don't know if you guys saw this video that was going viral yesterday. This dude filled up a cart at a shopping, like a Publix or something at his house, and he didn't buy it. He went back at him. It's been almost 3.5 years, and he went to go click. He's like, "Oh, there's still stuff in that cart. It was 4 times what it was." And he obviously didn't buy it. But nothing, dude, nothing is going right.
Now you're walking to kind of what I do for a living, which is follow the money in personal finance.
Following it.
I'll tell you one thing. That guy, he wasn't just rich and life was great 4 years ago,
No,
and
it
now
wasn't.
he's broke.
No.
2/3 of America lives paycheck to paycheck for the last 50 years.
Trump
So yeah, he can't
made
afford
billionaires'
groceries today,
pockets bigger.
but I guarantee you he
Everybody's
wasn't
pockets
exactly
got
balling
bigger.
out at Whole Foods 4 years ago. So he's complaining where he is today, but he wants to blame the president. He wants to blame, when people want to blame Trump, people want to blame Biden. Don't worry about what's going on in the White House. Worry about what's going on in your house. Control the controllable. And that guy right there is complaining about what's going on in America. But what did he do with it?
So let me ask you a question, Adam. You were, and let's just really quick, we're going to pull back the clock. You voted, and by the way, I'm not talking crap or judging. I'm just trying to figure, you were anti-Trump. You voted for Hillary. You voted for Biden. But where you are, Adam, right now, is your life better today than it was when Trump was in before COVID?
Bro, my life was great under Obama. My life was great under Trump. My life was great under
you make
Biden.
money.
And my life will be great regardless of who's the president. And that's what people have to understand. It's called personal development. It's called personal finance. It's called personal responsibility. It's called self-esteem. If you think Joe Biden or Donald Trump or Barack Obama or Hillary Clinton is going to change your life, you're dead wrong. Change your own life. But at the same time, I can recognize that if you take the 4 years of what Biden has done, compare it with the 4 years of what Trump has done, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Like Biden has failed the American people.
Yes.
And this guy's a Democrat.
But I'm not relying on Trump to come in to start having success. You got to do it on your own.
Well, I mean,
Well, speaking of success, PBD's back. How you doing, PBD?
So I want to show you guys a video. How many of you guys remember when Zidane, who knows who Zidane is? Anybody knows
The
Zidane?
soccer player?
So who was Zidane?
Oh, yeah, the guy with the headbutt.
What do you know about Zidane? Who knows? What's
the headbutt?
Okay,
in the World
so
Cup.
what's the famous moment with Zidane? What's the famous moment
When
with
he
Zidane?
headbutt the guy's
He
chest?
headbutted a guy that apparently said something about his family.
Do you guys know that? Anybody knows? In the World Cup,
Yeah.
after they beat Brazil, he headbutts a guy in the
His
championship final, and it ends up costing them the what do you call it? World Cup to France. Does anybody know why this guy headbutt the other guy? Do you know it? So don't say it. You know the story. Does anybody else know the story why he did? Okay, I want you to watch this video, Rob. I send it to you. And you're going to see what I'm going to bring up with this and the debate tonight. Rob, I just texted you the video. If you do have it, if it's ready, watch this. And it is emotional at the end, but there's a lesson in it as well. And I never knew this until about a week ago. Go ahead and play this clip.
Stop him. So they used the most ridiculous
Go back a
ploy
little bit,
in
Rob.
Dude,
football.
I remember this. I watched it live.
They couldn't stop him. So they used the most ridiculous ploy in football history. How could they stop a man who had destroyed a top Brazilian team before the final? The entire Brazilian team declared, "We didn't play against France, we played against Zidane." How could they stop a man who had scored a penalty against the best Buffon with a Panenka in the World Cup final? Their coach asked Materazzi to mark him throughout the match, but he couldn't stop him. He knew there was only one way to stop him. In the 110th minute, Materazzi grabbed Zidane's jersey with his hand. Zidane said to him, "Do you want my jersey?" He was just joking with him, but Materazzi insulted his sick sister, who was in the hospital at that moment.
Oh, they didn't show it?
Zidane couldn't control himself.
Here we go.
He headbutted him and was sent off with a red card. Sure, Italy won the match, but with Zidane, they couldn't have won that World Cup. But he chose to be a legend who defended his family's honor.
So what do you think about that? Did you know that story?
I thought it was something about religion, but who's taking the
You knew that?
shaking the back?
You knew that story. So his sister's in a hospital, and he says, "You want my shirt?" Apparently, the guy says, "No, I want your sister."
Oh my God.
Okay. So how many of you guys are men here who has a sister? Who's got a sister? Who's watching this and you got a sister? What do you do if somebody like this says something about your
Beat the
sister?
shit out.
Punching.
How many of you guys just right now your temperature?
I'm turning red.
You
I'm
got
gonna punch him in his face.
Your temperature goes up. You're like, "Oh, where is this guy? I want to find him right now." Let alone if he's in a hospital. So my guess is when they asked Biden, coin toss, you want to be on the left side or the right side? He went right side. And then when they said, Trump, you get to pick and choose who goes first, who goes last, Trump picks what? Last. Now, do you
Always go
really
last.
think Biden cares whether he's standing on the right side or the left side?
He's just happy to be standing.
Do you really think anybody cares if he's on the left side or the right side?
Us, no. The public, no.
Who cares which side you're like? Do you have an edge?
Yeah,
like, you know,
people make
sometimes like some women, they're like, "No, it's my better
like they're
side. It's
playing
my this
football.
side." When you're a guy, you're screwed up. So you're like, whatever side you want, I'll take a picture with you, right? But this is not like Biden's like, "I'm 81 years old. My better side is the right side." I'm convinced they did that. So Trump would pick. They know what Trump's going to pick, not going first. Trump's a counterpuncher, so they're going to pick. Trump's going to go last to do what? To do exactly what they did to Zidane, to get under skin. So then the question becomes the following. I just ran a poll a minute ago, and this is the question I asked. And I'm curious to know what you guys are going to be saying. The poll I ran, if you can pull up the poll, Rob, so everybody in the audience can see this. I ran a poll saying, how many times do you think President Biden is going to use the phrase convicted felon tonight?
Oh, yeah. I'm
Not
going
once,
above 6.
3 times, 4 to
gonna
6
say
times,
9
above 6
to
times.
12.
What do you guys think? Who here says 0 to 3 times? Like somewhere around 1 or 3 times. Who says 4 to 6 times here? Okay. Who says 6+ times tonight? Okay. So, Rob, just click on one of those to see. 76% agree with you on how many times he's going to use it. I think the only strategy that they have tonight, if they want to beat Trump, is to try to find a way to get under his skin. Watching. If they do, and Trump gets caught up in the emotion
he wants to watch
and reacts the way that he does, then there's going to be ways of see what happened, because historically, how many guys here watch debates of previous years? Who actually watches debates of previous years?
I actually showed one last week.
My son is sitting there, right? And my son and I, we like to watch older debates. And we'll kind of sit there and we'll go through it. In every debate,
I watched
there is
the
a
first
fumble.
Trump-Biden debate.
Brandon and I don't know where Brandon's at. Brandon and I were just talking about this right now about the fumble.
Bro, it's like
can anybody tell us what was the fumble with Kennedy and Nixon debate?
I can tell you.
Go ahead.
There was the first presidential debate that was televised.
That's right.
The revolution will be televised. And if you were watching on TV, you thought that JFK won.
What's up,
He was
Midwest?
good looking, and Nixon was sweating a little bit.
Right.
He had a little stubble 5 o'clock shadow. But if you were listening on radio, like half of America was, they actually thought that Nixon won the debate.
Yeah.
So that was the biggest thing right there.
So in other words, you would look very good today if you were
So
debating.
you're-
But you got a 5 o'clock
I'm a little
shadow
bit of
and
a,
you're
I'm a
okay
little
with
bit of a
it.
Nixon,
I
but
think you could
I'm a
get away
JFK
with it.
Democrat.
So what was
Marilyn Monroe, if you
what
wanna
was
hang
the
out.
what was the moment with Bush
Amongst other
Senior
things,
and
Gomez,
Dukakis?
amongst other things.
Oh, Bush Senior and Dukakis.
There was a couple of them.
Oh, that was the commercial Dukakis?
Yeah.
When he-
Not the. Hey, he did in the debate. They asked him a question about death
Jersey, what's
penalty
up,
and his
brother?
wife. You remember that moment?
What did he ask?
This is so President Dukakis. If there's a death penalty and your wife is kind of caught up and she is guilty and she's going to get the death penalty, he gave the logical, cold answer.
Kill
and
her?
women are like, wait a minute, if this guy was my husband, he would kill me.
Oh, he said he's going to kill his wife?
He would be.
Yeah, because you have to be politically
In other
correct.
words,
I got to kill
right?
my wife. I'm sorry, guys. I mean, I got to do
So
what's right.
then we had Bush against Clinton. Senior against Clinton. Does anybody know what the fumble was there? Bush Senior versus Clinton. What was the fumble? Do you remember?
Yeah, that he allowed Ross Perot on stage.
No. The fumble was when he did this.
He checked his
When the
watch.
lady, the African-American lady asked a question about national debt.
Yeah.
And he says, you don't think I feel the debt? Rob, is this the one? No, this isn't the one. That's Dukakis.
That's a death penalty.
Oh,
clip.
can you play this?
wanna
By
hear
the way,
it.
it's 3 minutes and 21 seconds. Can you find where it's at? Because his answer is so cold, it's insane. So anyway, Bush Senior goes like this.
Cold-blooded.
While the lady's asking a question, he goes like this.
Yeah.
And they're like, wait a minute, you don't have time for a voter to kind of tell him your situation, your position? He says, you don't think I feel what the national debt is? You don't think I feel the
I don't
problem?
know where you found that,
And then you
Gomez.
have
It's
Ford
just
versus
funny.
Carter is when Ford says, Soviet Union will never have domination over Eastern Europe. And the moderator's like, President Ford, you sure you're saying that the Soviet Union doesn't have any control over Eastern Europe? What are you talking about,
No,
right?
the Anunnaki
Okay, that's game
are
over.
nowhere
Al
near
Gore
that
against Bush.
corrupt.
Does anybody remember Al Gore
on,
against
Gomez.
Bush? When Al Gore comes and stands over Bush and he's kind of trying to bully him, and Bush does this one look.
He looks at his feet.
And he goes back to the debate.
I mean, he could be a
right?
lizard person.
And then what's the Clinton-Trump one? What was the highlight of
We're-
the Clinton-Trump?
we're the
This is
same,
an easy one. What was it?
You'd be in jail.
Because you'd
The
be in
greatest.
jail.
That's the best one.
And that was it. That
Mic
night,
drop.
Mic drop.
it's over.
Yeah.
By the way,
Like The
tonight,
Thing.
that
Remember the
moment
movie The
can't
Thing?
happen.
Exactly.
Because tonight, he can't do
Yeah.
because you'd be in jail. None of that stuff works because he's
Muted.
muted. Anyways, we can get a couple of these other guys. My only feedback would be if Trump stays on 4 years to 4 years, he's going to do his counterpunch stuff and entertains and is kind of in the playful mode that he's in right now. I think it's going to be slam dunk tonight if he doesn't let Joe Biden get under his skin tonight.
And Pal, let me ask you a question. How much of what happens tonight? Because I don't think it's going to be that unless Joe Biden literally falls apart. And I don't know either they're hoping for it. I mean, we saw.
I mean,
Gavin
there's
Newsom
two
was
more,
in the
so
building, at
probably.
least. Yeah, we saw him. I saw him on X showing up to the building. How much of tonight and the success of what happens tonight is actually going to make voters go, you know
All right,
what?
it says 5 minutes, guys.
I'm still going to go, regardless of everything that's happening and the country's falling apart. The fact that Joe Biden survived and did well, I'm going to vote for him. Like, how much you think that's going to actually change their vote on what's happening with the country?
So meaning, like, even if he shows up and he crushes it, is he still going to win the vote or
Yeah,
not?
well, yeah.
He's
How much-
not going to win your vote. I honestly, and by the way, Dukakis, let me correct myself. On Dukakis, Dukakis was so anti-death penalty that they said, what if a man rapes your wife?
Yeah.
What would you want? And he's like, no, I'm anti-death penalty. That's the
Oh,
position.
got you.
And
He
it was
didn't want
kinda
to kill
like-
his wife.
Yeah. He was kind of like,
He wouldn't want to kill the guy that
No. I
raped
get
his
it
wife.
was more that. So correction, I wanted to put that out there. But there's a part of people that are saying what tonight is all about is the fact that this is like a tryout for Biden to see if he's going to stay in it or not. Like meaning if he, because you know who else showed up tonight to the debate? Did they show you the video yet or no?
Slick.
Newsom?
Slick,
you know who? No,
Snake in the grass?
Show him the clip. Rob
Newsom?
showed up to the debate tonight.
He was like,
Here's who's in the debate tonight.
Hillary,
Vinny showed this to
Michelle,
us on the background. If you
Gavin.
got it. This guy was at the
look
debate
at this little
tonight.
snake in the grass.
Yeah.
Look at him. Look at him. Like the snake that he is. Look at him. That's the future, guys.
Allegedly, Vinny.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I thought that
So
was
he's
Big
there
Mike
tonight.
back
So
there.
what is he doing there tonight? Tonight was a draft pick. By the way, Bronny James is going to the Lakers.
Right?
Yeah.
LeBron
Stupid.
James.
Second
and Bronny
round.
will be playing
Total
together.
coincidence, not
Total
planned at
coincidence.
all.
Because LeBron said
had
he'd
no
go with
say
the
in
Lakers
this
if
matter.
his son got
He actually
drafted.
didn't even know they were drafting him.
That's right. He wasn't even watching.
Yeah.
So then the question becomes, maybe the backup center showed up tonight knowing if he doesn't make it, the next first-round draft pick is there ready to go. Light it up.
Yep.
Opening statement. I feel President Biden's been one of the greatest presidents we've ever had to overcome the challenges that we had the last few years after COVID, with the travesty the previous president did. And I've been loyal to him since. He's been such a great, loyal man. And he called me and he asked me if I would be willing to this. I said, anything for you, Mr. President. And I've never even thought about becoming a president. And I love being the governor of the state of California. But if you ask me to have that kind of a responsibility,
California's
even though my wife and I, we talked
Jesus
about it, we
Christ.
really didn't want to do this because we got a great life in California. But anything for the country, you, Mr. Biden. And yes, I will gladly be the nominee for the Democrat. Can you visualize that script actually happening, right?
I was actually getting mad at you because I pictured him. I'm like, I hate him.
Well, I think they like
you know what he's going to say? I guarantee
You've said
he's
my
gonna say,
name before,
I
too.
don't want to run for president. I have to.
Yeah.
And then his tongue's going to come out like a snake and go back in his mouth.
But here's the question, though. Here's the question. Let me give you my weird side.
Yeah.
I am hoping Biden does good tonight.
Why?
Because if he does good tonight, I would much
Oh,
rather
yeah.
go get. You want the face-off to be against Biden. That's what you want history to be. I hope Biden does good tonight. I hope.
Only
I don't know.
so
People
they
are
think he's the
speculating he's
guy.
going to be on
Man.
DECA, D-ball, TRT,
No, I want him to
HRT,
get destroyed.
Clenbuterol, on
He should.
Adderall, on whatever he's going. Whether
should
he is
call
or not, we're
A-Rod's
not-
guy.
This is no drug testing, and this is the NFL or the all these other sports. But I hope he
Angela G,
has,
he's not
maybe
ruining
a nice
California.
cup of coffee and
He already
whatever else
did.
he does in it, and I hope it's a good show.
I mean, Pat, they found cocaine in the White House.
What makes you think that's his or his son?
What up, Sam?
Why would you assume automatically maybe someone left it there?
You actually make and you know what? You're right, because none of the cameras
How
were on.
naive could you be?
Yeah, you're right.
Why
You're right.
would you be so naive and just jump into conclusion?
I
Vinny?
sit here corrected.
You're missing
Yeah,
the ball
seriously.
here, Vinny.
I'm
Hunter
sitting- I-
Biden
Guys,
doesn't do
forgive me
cocaine.
for Vinny taking that position right there. It's so offensive sometimes.
I'm sorry. I
I don't
just
know why you do that.
You missed
I
the ball on
apologize.
that one.
Hold
Pat.
it together.
Hunter Biden would never do cocaine. He's a crack guy.
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
It's
fine.
not his thing, bro.
You
Have
do have
little,
a point.
Have a little
You
respect.
do have a point, but somebody
that.
sent me.
Like the vice
somebody
pres-
sent
or the
me
president's
all
kid.
the images. I didn't want it. I'm just a vessel. They just sent me stuff. I saw the contents of the Hunter Biden laptop, and Adam, you're wrong. There was cocaine everywhere. It was bad.
That he was cooking.
No, it was
To
just
turn
bad.
into. Yeah,
It's a president.
I think you know, if you watch a PB
Um,
podcast, you know that I've been
Who
vocal
do I
that I do
think's
not
gonna
think
win?
that there's going to be a great switch.
Honestly.
I don't think that there's two Joe Bidens. I think that they are riding with Biden. Whether they lose or win, they're going with this
I don't know.
guy. And if you
Probably
go down the
Trump, but
rabbit
it's
hole,
not going to be like
and if you think that this
a
is one big
coherent
bait and
Biden
switch,
that's
I can
going
see
against.
why that would be. And it's actually a
Biden,
makes him
once
an
he gets
even
pressed
weaker
about
candidate.
30
The
to
fact that there's
45
still
minutes into
ongoing
this,
conversation
he might
of what
start,
the switch will be.
dwindling.
But
That's
if you
why
ask
they have a
anybody on the
commercial break in
inside,
the
you know, the
middle.
calls coming from inside the house.
So
Everybody
we'll see
in the
what
White
happens
House is like,
there.
no, that's our guy. Like, stop talking about this. This is our guy. So I do agree that there's going to be a great test today. And it's not just so easy like, hey, Biden, you're out. Can we get the right-handed pitcher, Gavin Newsom? You're going to hear there's something called delegates. There's something called super delegates. They actually got to go through the states. It's not as easy as just like bringing the backup pitcher. It doesn't. It'd be easier for the Democrats to do that. And I also agree with you that Trump, based on approval ratings, net approval ratings, has actually surpassed Biden at this point. Not a good look for Biden. People are saying that these are the only two candidates that each other could beat. Meaning if Joe Biden ran against DeSantis or a Vivek, the age and the energy would be so palpable to see. They're like, oh my God, we can't vote for the old guy. All right, let's keep.
Hey, I guess we're going to be here talking for
There's
another 30
Democrat
minutes.
strategists
I don't
who
know
basically
why the
said,
hell I thought
no,
it
we
was
want Trump.
7:30.
And there's clearly
That's the last
Republican
time I believed
strategists
the
that are like,
fucking
nah,
Daily
we don't
Wire.
want Gavin. We don't want Michelle Obama. We want the old decrepit guy. So that's why they call it the double hater election. that these are the only guys each other's going to actually beat. This is who we got.
But Pat, how hard would it be? Let's just say, how hard? We see what he does tonight. Let's say he falls apart, and the Democrats are just like, he's not the guy. How hard would it be to release something from like the laptop or something?
As opposed to why
he's
doing it, I'm not really sure.
And they put a charge on Biden.
Because he didn't want to debate at all during the primaries.
You make it as if the bait and switch is like, oh, look over here, look at
But I
Gavin.
think it's more because
Vincenzo, it's not
it'd
hard
be
to
more
do
like
what?
a campaign thing for him since
It's not hard
been in
to say,
court
by the way,
so
the
long
Hunter
the past
Biden
couple
laptop,
months.
which now they have said for a fact
Or even if it's a
is
lose
real,
for him,
it's taken them
it's campaign votes. so
7, 8
people see
years.
him.
8 years.
Why do you got to bring Israel into this, bro?
Did I say Israel? But what I'm saying is, how hard is it?
Oh, you said it's real?
It's real. How hard is it for them now?
My
to,
two
like,
cents is just what?
Adam, in a month, whatever that happens on this debate, in a month, they go, oh my God, look what we found on the laptop. He did all this stuff with
It's fun to
Burisma.
speculate, but I try to be a pragmatist and actually face reality in the face. And
Well, what do you mean?
Homeboy's
Reality-
debating tonight. We're about to see in an hour how he does.
Less than an hour.
And by the way, it could be as simple as him being in the audience, just like Trump said the VP nominee will be in the audience today.
Yes.
So Trump's got about 82 people in the audience to throw everybody off. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
It's one of the 82, and it's like, which one is this going to be in regards to being the VP? Do you have any kind of thoughts on who the VP is? Obviously,
I know it's going to be a guy.
You think so? So
You really
Stefanik
think
is
so?
out. Tulsi is out.
But mind you, though, I don't want Stefanik. I wanted Tulsi Gabbard.
Okay.
All right?
Me too.
If I had to guess, and it's
Or
a
Vivek.
very strong guess,
But it's not gonna
I
be
would
him.
guess, and I know Adam's guy is the Burnham.
Probably going to be one of the black
Doug
guys.
Burnham.
Say his name right, buddy.
Doug
It's Doug
Burnham.
Burgum. How dare you?
I'm gonna say Vivek Ramaswamy is gonna be his VP pick.
That's what we want.
Take it to the bank. What do you think?
Crowd doesn't seem to think.
Look at those odds real quick. Tim Scott is at the top. Doug Burgum
No,
is
not
second.
Tim
This
Scott,
is
the other
Vegas.
one.
J.D. Vance is third. Rubio, then Carson, then Huckabee, then Tulsi, then Elise Stefanik. Vivek is 25-1.
I'm taking that bet.
Yeah.
I'm taking that.
I'm taking it, PBD. Why am I gonna go with
Byron
I'll tell you why
Donald.
it doesn't matter. I don't think it matters who Trump VP is because Trump, more than anybody, does not
You think
get
Tim
into
Scott
the
over
identity
Donaldson?
politics game. Trump could be like, you, hot chick, you're my new running mate. Like, hey, buddy, what's your name? You're my, like, it's Trump, it's Trump, it's Trump. Whoever he selects, whether it's Sleepy Ben Carson or Excitable Vivek or my guy Doug Burgum, who got his ankle broke to playing basketball in the presidential elections and was out there with one leg up like he's in doing a dance in Miami. He doesn't care. He'll run with Pence. He'll run with any single person on this thing, with the exception of Nikki Haley. I don't think he's picking her. So
Hell no,
I do
that'd
think
be
it's going to
stupid.
be this guy Burgum. I don't think he cares if it's a man or a woman. I think he wants someone who's loyal and down for the cause and is going to be a flag carrier for the Trump 2024 campaign. On the flip side, we know that Biden plays identity politics. He basically said, I don't even want the best man for the job. I don't want the best woman for the job. I'm picking a African-American female who checks the DEI woke checklist. And Kamala, if you talk shit about me on stage, you're my gal. So it's just totally different. Trump doesn't really play identity politics.
Vice
However,
President
it's
on
ironic that he's
the
labeled
Democratic
the
Party. Can they do
racist.
that?
He's labeled the sexist. It's kind of interesting to see what the media has done to disparage Trump, even though he's not the one doing what they say he is doing.
As a diehard Donald Trump supporter, how does that make you feel?
Diehard.
I mean, look.
You know, Pat, I've been red pilled. What do you want from me, buddy? I mean, come on now. Come on.
Yeah.
I do like the
Not
idea
that kind of red pilled guys.
and what's going to happen in
But
Florida.
can I show you something?
Yeah.
This might be a good time.
Here we go.
You know that there's no,
Especially with all the New
there's no
Yorkers and
props.
Californians moving down.
Yes.
Getting married, guys. It's
Sir, would you come?
Adam, you got married?
You know, there's no
What?
props in the debate
Is
tonight.
his future wife in the room? Let
No,
me see.
no.
Is there somebody here who's finally I'm going to meet this girl?
No, there's this is actually it's a pretty big deal. I brought you something, PBD. You know, they said there's no props. Vinny, you don't know how to read, do you?
No.
Okay, so I'm gonna have Pat
Pictures.
read
Are there
this.
pictures in it?
This is something.
Justin Trudeau is
this
probably
my
the
voter
most
identification
believable
card.
and trustable
I want you to
candidate
see
or
this
president leader.
because I think it's a testament to
in the
where we're
entire
at in
world.
America today.
Politician. There you go.
You want to read it? Or
Trudeau.
you want to read it?
Give it to Pat.
What's my party affiliation?
I know what it is.
No, but it's different between seeing and believing. And what year did I register for that?
What?
National Socialist Party.
Yep, there it is.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
We knew it.
Dunzo, you caught me.
03. Socialist.
Socialist
Is
since
that what you
03,
want me to say?
Yes.
If you want to zoom in, you want me to have them zoom in to see the Socialist
Let's see
Party?
it.
But it's got your social on there. I don't want to do. I don't want to do that. But anyway, so what do you want to from the fact you're part of the Socialist Party? What do you want to do with that?
You're funny. You're funny.
Who actually believes this guy was a part of the Socialist?
He's a good actor.
See, even they're believing it.
There's one guy with good teeth that smiled.
Independent Party.
And a guy who doesn't know his left from his right over there.
Independent Party of Florida as of 2003.
Yes. So I think it's,
Rob,
by the way.
You get a dozen, maybe like a couple cookies from the back, if that's okay with you. Maybe this guy's looking for a cookie. Now, here's a question, though. How many times have you voted for an independent president or Republican president?
What do you mean, an independent president?
Yeah.
Exactly
PBD,
what I said. You're part of the independent party.
PBD.
You're part of the independent party.
PBD, I see what you're doing. And you're walking right into my trap. You walked right into it.
Do it.
You did it.
Go ahead and do it.
Because you're saying, how many times have you actually voted for a Republican?
Yes. President.
You know the answer.
What? How many times?
The answer is 0.
Okay.
But things have changed.
Right.
The most powerful things in the world you could say.
You got to be careful who you're hanging out with because they can have influence over you.
It's true. By the way, I keep my
can't hang out with some people here because
voter
people might get
registration
mad.
Independent Party of Florida.
Oh no.
In my Declaration of Independence, Vinny.
Here we go.
Read this. Give it to Trump.
Constitution.
Yeah. That's right. The Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. There it is right there. But I think it's a sign of the times, PBD, that there's a lot of people who have seen what's happened to the Democratic Party. Like RFK, I would love to see this guy on stage tonight. Would love to see. How many guys would want to see RFK on stage tonight to talk to both candidates? No? All right. Somebody's forgot how to clap out there. I get it. But I think there's a lot of people in America who were JFK Democrats or even Clinton Democrats who are like, what is this party all about these days? Like, you're more concerned about abortion, chicks with dicks, and DEI than the economy and immigration and actually getting our country together. And I think that's the problem with the Democratic Party. I didn't realize we were having kids here.
I know it's still Pride Month.
Come on.
Wow, bro.
Seriously.
But
are you just as offended as I am?
I'm so mad at him.
Tico,
did you hear the bad words? Earmuffs.
Tico's one of the smartest kids I know. I'm super proud of your son, Tico. But I think there's a lot of people like me who were not exactly excited about Biden in 2020, but they're like, there's so many people that are just over Trump. But I think what we realize if we can remove emotion from it and actually
I just thought it started at 7:30.
And be like, Trump talks so much shit and he's annoying.
I love it.
I didn't realize it was 8.
The policies is kind of where you got to focus.
Well,
and if you look at Biden's policies, there's 3 wars going all around the world, potentially something else going on. Whether you want to talk inflation, want to talk economy, the border's an absolute mess. But they're worried about democracy. And I think there's a lot of people that are like, don't believe your lying eyes. We're not. So there's a lot of people who are, whether they're independents or Democrats.
Say it. If you want the press secretary job,
just do it.
Say, look at the camera and say, President Trump, I think I would be one hell of a press secretary for you. My name is Adam Sosnick.
Yes. Which camera I got?
Pick out any one of them.
Donald Trump, if you're never able to make it to the stage that one day, I'm here for you, buddy. I think there's a lot of people that are waking up to this.
So, Adam, if the vote happened today, Biden or Trump, who are you voting for? I'm being dead serious.
I would vote for Trump.
Yes, Adam.
Oh, shit.
And you know what?
What is this, a fraternity hazing party?
Yeah.
Like, okay, you got me, guys.
And
it's cool. I get it.
And to all the Democrats, to all the
We're doing the elephant walk in the back of the club, guys.
To all the liberals out there, and all that they're crying and they're screaming and they're so mad, PBD, that Trump, he can come, he's going to win again, and he's Hitler. If they didn't cheat and they didn't mess with him and they didn't do all the shit that they did, he'd be leaving in November. You would have been done. You never would have heard from Trump again. But now it's payback time, because now everybody's watching, and thank God for Elon Musk. If it wasn't for Elon Musk, you wouldn't be able to see videos of like a Gavin Newsom show him up, or videos of them if they're going to do any cheating or anything, because now we have that platform and now we could see it.
Here's a clip of what Newsom had to say when he was asked about why he's there. Go ahead, Rob. Look at that hair, perfect.
He's got great hair.
Yeah. You understand the context of that. This is the President of the United States running for re-election. He's our guy. And that's part of the diversion tactic of the right, to continue to sort of muddy the waters on all that and that nonsensical speculation. It's just like the absurdity of who's going to get
there's
an ejection shot. I mean, this is farcical. It's serious stuff. Democracy, freedom, liberty, rights. And to see it trivialized as we're trivializing it, even having these conversations.
What a
is
snake.
Really distressing to me as an American citizen, not just as a Democrat.
Governor,
How good of a poker player do you
Forget that
think
guy
he is?
kissed China's ass when
How good of
President
a
Xi
poker
came there.
player, like, to be able to look at you as good as he does, and it's like, this is serious stuff with him. How do you not realize this is serious stuff? You're asking me silly questions like that?
Oh.
Why would you ask me a question like that? But, yeah, I mean, listen, who knows? Everything is about speculation. Tonight, we're going to find out if, I guess one of the main questions is, do you remember Megyn Kelly? Opening question. Okay, Rob, can you pull this up? This was like a
George Trump. Yeah, I remember.
Mic drop moment. Okay, where he kind of goes like this. And you know, when he's doing this, you know, everybody's got
loading up the guns.
When somebody's like, your hand goes like this, they're about to swing. When he goes like this, I mean, it's coming, right? Watch his shoulders tonight when he goes like this. He wants to say
That's
something.
his tail,
right?
like in poker.
That's Trump's tail, right? But the question was asked, Rob, can you...
You've called women dogs, pigs, this, that, the other.
And
Thank
then
you.
he's like...
Only Rosie O'Donnell.
Yeah. Rob, do you have it or you can't find it?
I'm looking right now.
Okay. It should be somewhere around there. I think this is it, Rob.
Take a toast every time they say...
I think so.
Okay, go ahead and play this clip. I mean, this is obviously greatest hits. Go ahead.
Mr. Trump, one of the things people love about you is you speak your mind and you don't use a politician's filter.
Or judge.
However, that is not without its downsides, in particular when it comes to women. You've called women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs,
Watch your shoulders.
and disgusting animals. Your Twitter account...
Only Rosie O'Donnell.
No, it wasn't.
He just won the election right there.
Let me... Yeah, so again, but guess what?
She was trying not to laugh.
Today, that can't happen.
Which I don't like.
No, by the way, and here's a part, though. Here's a part. Okay, I want you to think about, you know, they know, they're professionals. They know most people are not going to watch the entire debate.
Yep.
They're not. Most people are going to watch the first 15, 30 minutes, like a video you make, the first, you know, 10 minutes, 15 minutes they'll watch, or even a shorter video, the first 8 seconds they'll watch, and then they're gone, right? So if you really want to embarrass the guy, what question do you ask Trump?
As the moderator is the first question?
I want you to...
I already got it.
I want you to be the devil. I know it's going to be hard for you to do, but be the devil's advocate and think about the ugliest question to ask Trump as the first question to get under his skin. Your name is Jake Tapper or Dana. What question do you start off with?
You want to go first or want me to go first?
I'm taking notes.
I think Adam's got this. Let's see what he's going to say.
President Trump, we're so grateful that you were able to make it here today. We know that there was a good chance that you could be in jail right now. We all know that you've been convicted of 34 felonies in state of New York, you know. So how does it feel to be here on stage in this wonderful auditorium with no crowd, able to debate for the presidency? By the way, what happened on January 6th? We'll come back to that later. Anyway, explain yourself. That just might go right there.
Crowd reminds me of...
I don't know about that.
Literally,
what do you
COVID debates. Holy
if
shit.
The moderator wants to crap on him 100%.
Not crap on him. Immediately, you want to get under his skin right off the bat as a question, because you know it's going to be only the first 15 minutes, so you got to get him in the first 15 minutes. So what do you ask?
So President Trump, going back, some say that you were, colluding with Russia. You were a Russian asset. Up to the January 6th insurrection. A book came out where it was known fact that you cheated on your wife. This is in the book. You cheated on your wife. Again, you did hush money with Stormy Daniels. Okay, I'd list all those things and I say, if you do win, what's to say that you're not going to do that again when you win the presidency? Because if you want to get under his skin, you bring up all the dirt about his personal life and then you just give it to him.
I actually think he would overcome each of those one by one, and I think he would welcome that. I actually think he would welcome that question. I think you have to be more creative than that to hit him somewhere that's going to really piss him off.
Yo, Dana Bad.
Do you have one in mind?
No,
You're on to something.
I'm nowhere. I'm just kind of like, we're being creative right now. This is how our meetings go, by the way.
Don't sell yourself short, because I'll tell you why you are right. In news, in journalism, in broadcasting, there's something called don't bury the lead.
Right.
So they're not going to bury the lead. If they're asking Trump the first
Adam went to
question-
Columbia School, studied journalism.
right.
Just so you guys into
I was at Columbia.
That's a joke. I'm
I
kidding with you. One guy bought it, but he believes you.
Florida State.
Go ahead.
Florida State, okay? Football. Nib high football. No, they're not going to bury. If they're going to the first question, Trump, they're not going to bury the lead. They're going to ask a very poignant, direct question because they know that is going to be the most watched part of the debate. So you are onto something. I just don't know what that question is going to be.
But I do think strategically, if you're thinking about your enemy, what your enemy is going to try to do, how many hours you think they sat in the room, Tapper, Dana, with their crew saying, and all the liberal students that just got out of Columbia, that just got out of all these schools, that hates Trump at the highest level, right? Yeah. Can't stand this guy. Come up with the top 5 question. I'll give you a $1,000 bonus. Whoever comes up with the best question to ask as the opening question to get piss them off right off the bat. What would that question be? If we use your question, it's a $1,000 bonus. We give you whatever the number they give them, right? You come up with that question. And then in that room, they sit there and say, I actually really like that question. What's your name? Mary. How long you been with us? I'm an intern. Who do you work with? Okay, write that question down. Oh, what do you have? What do you have? What do you have? I think you got to start off right off the bat, rattling him. And then from there, you see where he takes it. But you got to find, and I'm sure they're dark enough and deceptive enough, have enough access to resources to know what question to pose. The question becomes, is it going to work or not? See, the one thing I see about how Trump is lately, you guys ever seen somebody when you get out of phase and when anything that happens, they're always pissed? Have you ever been in that phase before? I know I have been. Have you ever been in a phase where almost it takes this much to piss you off? Have you ever been there before?
Oh, yeah.
We got a bunch of saints here. Guys,
wholesome.
Can you please pray for me afterwards? I mean, I'd love to be a saint like you. Okay, but have you also ever been at a phase of your life where nothing can get under your skin, where you're just like, okay, high as a kite?
That's where I'm at right now, Pat.
Are you really?
High as a kite. Oh, you said under your skin?
That's because you were smoking weed in the cigar lounge.
You can't get under the skin.
But and then a cop pulls you over and he's like, do you know why I pulled you over? Yes, officer. Why did I pull you over? I was going 120. 65. I was going fast. I deserve a ticket. Excuse me? You should give me a ticket. Go ahead. You need my license and registration? Is everything okay? I just had a daughter. I don't give a shit. Give me a ticket. I'm so happy right now. Mm-hmm. And the cop's like, oh, those moments that we have, right? Trump is flowing right now. Mm-hmm. So that's the thing. Yeah. So what I mean is, I don't think anything's going to work because to me, he has the mojo that he had in 2015, 2016. He did not have in 2020. In 2020, I think he lost the mojo. He was angry, and it didn't work well.
Yeah.
It didn't work well. I think right now he's dancing. He's having fun. He's enjoying this. So I actually don't think there's anything they can ask that's going to get under his skin. If I was an intern in there, I would say, I'm so sorry. I didn't go to Columbia. I went to Glendale Community College, and maybe my opinion has no credence here. I actually think you guys want to make sure the first 15 minutes is as boring as possible so people switch. Because if it's not boring and they watch the whole thing and Trump kills it, you guys are dummies and you will lose. So ask the stupidest questions the first 15 minutes so you lose the audience and they walk away. That's what I would do if I were you. And so that's the part, because I think he's dancing right now. He's having way too much fun right now.
I actually agree with you, and I'll tell you why. Trump relishes...
We got 10 minutes. We got 10 minutes till the debate.
I'll tell you why. Trump relishes being the underdog. So in 2016, he was the underdog. I mean, nobody thought Trump was even going to be the candidate.
Not one poll had him ahead.
I mean, he came up there in 2015 and 2016 when he was campaigning and in the Republican primaries, and boom, 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 boom. Low energy, Jeb, you're done. Okay, little Marco, boom, you're done. Left and right, they're out of there. 2020, he was the president. It's kind of hard to be the underdog when you're the incumbent president. And he also had COVID, so kind of, something to deal with at that time. Right now, even though he's kind of favored in the polls right now, he can still play the underdog. They're trying to lock me up. They're trying to go after my freedom. They're trying to take your freedom away. I'm your fighter. I can do this. I'm representing you. So he can kind of play that card. And I think he does well being that guy other than being the incumbent president. So I think you're absolutely right on that.
Vinny, please be skeptical and disagree, because this is getting boring. Okay, I like a good fight.
I'm
Call it out. Say you guys are wrong. I disagree.
Listen,
they're going to come after him.
Vinny,
By the way,
enjoy being the guy that disagrees once in a while. There you go, Vinny. Enjoy it.
Is Rumble down?
Yes, according to.
Is it? I just saw Steven Crowder tweeted that he's leaving Rumble to go on YouTube. Not
Down
leaving
detector,
Rumble. He went to YouTube because Rumble is down.
Correct. DownDetector.com has them down, and if you take a look at the screen right here, as I refresh, it's not loading.
Wow. So either they had so much traffic coming in, or somebody
it is down.
wants to make
Enter
their day a bad day.
skepticism. Enter skepticism.
I'm just saying, what a
By the way,
coincidence.
how many of you guys disagree? Who disagrees with what I said? You're like, no, I don't think that's what it is. Okay? You think that what? That
holy shit.
You think so? Who's
Are
that?
you talking about Rumble?
Oh, you think Soros is behind Rumble being down? You fully believe that?
Can Rumble?
So you're not a fan of Jorge. You don't think he's a sweet, noble, gentle
Jorge.
man?
Yo, this is real time.
You think they're going to take Biden off the field tonight? Yeah. Okay, so let me ask you this. Go back to what I said, that they're actually maybe even the first 15 minutes. By the way, this is one of the ways to get under his
Remember
skin.
when they said
You
that
ready?
Biden administration
Thank you so much
has
for
the
being
right
on the
to
stage,
censor
President
certain
Biden
conservative speech?
and Mr. Trump.
What
Thank
if
you so
that's
much for
what
being
just
on the
fucking
stage.
happened?
Did you catch that too?
Mr. Trump. President
Mr.
Biden.
Trump.
That's right.
Yep.
That's the one way
Little
to do it.
disrespect sprinkled in.
President Biden, great to have you here. Mr. Trump, it's great to have you here. If they do that, that's actually such a dirty
the
way
whole
of
website's
taking it that can actually backfire. It's actually, I don't know if it's a good idea.
Yeah,
if they
because
do
it shows how.
By the way, if they do it, it's a bad look on CNN.
1000%.
Now, again, you can never be surprised. You always got to be kind of like ready on what the enemy could do.
I wouldn't be
flip it on you?
surprised if it
You
was
can flip it
something
all you
that
want.
I think
I'm waiting to get
CNN.
into it.
I think CNN.
Can't copyright
Just how
Rumble.
what I've learned from PBD after every single debate, you give scores for everybody, not just Trump, not just Biden. You give scores for the commentators. You give scores to the hosts. You give scores to the networks. You give score to the VPs around there. CNN has a unique chance tonight to turn the tide of people being like, yeah, they're just clearly
Or if they
leftist
took Twitter
stooges
down, that would
in
be
the
fucking
Democratic Party
embarrassing.
camp. Meaning,
I love the word.
if they
stooges.
actually do a good job, if Jake Tapper and Dana Bash are actually legit down the middle and are even to both sides, that would help credibility a little bit.
If they really wanted to do that, they would have allowed the press secretary, the spokesperson for Trump the other day, when she said Jake Tapper compared Trump to Hitler and they cut her off. That would have been a good start.
Yeah, but that's who was that? Casey Hunter, Allison Camerata,
It doesn't
whoever was
matter.
doing that.
You're representing
but that's
the
not them.
brand. No,
But that's not on the world stage, PBD. Now we're going to disagree. Now we're going to disagree.
That's the brand. That's the brand. You're representing the brand, and you're saying that. So,
but that's different from during the presidential debate versus a random interview on a Tuesday.
So let me ask you a different question. Let me ask you a different question. America, what American voters want. Rob, was there one of the slides of what the topics was? I think one of the stories that we had on what the stories people wanted to talk about. Okay, so there was one thing about issue. Okay, so immigration. Immigration. Is that question, will that be asked in the first 15 minutes?
Probably not, because it's going to hurt
It
Biden
shouldn't
more.
be.
It should not
if
be for
you're
CNN.
For
For sure.
Just
when
in
should
case
you ask immigration questions?
YouTube cuts.
At the end.
In the last 30 minutes.
And nobody's
No,
watching.
If you're so again, think about all these things. What will they ask in the first 15 minutes?
Abortion.
Okay.
Abortion.
Roe versus Wade.
Okay, so now you're talking strategy.
Now we're flowing.
What are the chances
Now we're
the
flowing.
first 15 minutes going to be Roe versus Wade? Abortion. First 15 minutes.
90%.
First 30 minutes.
90%.
If they have an agenda, very high.
Okay,
That's what we're about to see.
we're going to see this here collectively together. Okay, what are the topic you think? We got 5 minutes. What are the topic you think will be brought up in the first 15, 30 minutes?
January 6th, insurrection, 1,000%.
Okay, so let's go through it. J6,
100,000%.
abortion. What else?
Convicted felon.
Convicted felon.
Well, that's obvious.
Convicted felon.
Oh, this for
APAC?
first questions?
Payback.
COVID handling.
Dictator
Hey,
comment.
man,
we found a guy with a more
Dictator on day
conspiratorial
one.
nature than you, buddy.
And God
Okay,
bless him.
so now let's do this.
God bless him.
What do you think will be talked about the last 30 minutes? We said immigration last 30 minutes.
Immigration, the economy.
What was that?
Climate.
You think climate change is last 30 minutes?
Or earlier.
I think
war.
climate change could be in the first 30 minutes.
First 30.
You have called climate change a hoax. Mr. Trump.
Boom. In the beginning, yeah.
728 scientists have said
Yeah.
Right? So, okay, so climate change. What else do you think will be the last 30 minutes? Like, this is when people go to sleep. They're done. Like,
what about LGBTQ?
I think you got to bring that. I think you got to bring anything that's a bad look on Trump. You got to bring you the first 30 minutes. That's what they're going to do. So that's what you have to watch out for, because that's the strategic move.
It's called strategery.
Strategery.
Strategery. But you made a great point, Pat, because I know we're wrapping up. You made a great point.
No worries, Laura. Appreciate you.
He's dancing because now he has ammunition. Now he's going to say, you guys have seen 4 years. You saw my 4 years. What do you want?
I'm going to make
You choose what you want.
Any predictions? Any predictions you want to make?
Joe Biden walks over and punches him and loses his mind, and they kick him off.
No, that's not a prediction. That's an ideal situation for a comedian. That's what you would want. Adam.
Joe Biden just comes in.
I think the least crazy candidate will win. Like, present yourself as the least crazy. I think Trump is going to have a lot of ammunition to call out Biden's record. Listen to, you might say, I've mean tweets. How you like you miss those orange tweets now, kind of a thing. Look at what's going on in the world. He's a lot of ammunition. I think Biden has very little ammunition. I think he's going to go to the criminal thing. I think he's going to the January 6th thing. And I think he's going to use this one term that I've been researching. By the way, I told you I brought props. Here's another thing. A practical guide to defeating MAGA.
Did you write that?
No, I didn't write it. I co-authored it.
You co-authored
This is actually online right now. And do you know the only term in terms of the Republican Party that has a lower approval rating to Democrats than Donald Trump? MAGA. Donald Trump's approval rating within Democrats is in the 20s or 30s, but MAGA is actually lower than that. So look out for this. How many times they say MAGA extremists, right-wing MAGA extremists? Just so you know that, guys. Trump has a higher approval rating than MAGA. Just keep that in mind.
Wait, threat to democracy, you're going to hear at least 10 times, for sure.
What other predictions you got? What other predictions you got? What else?
I
what else do you
predict
think's gonna happen?
that Joe Biden is actually going to be there, finish the debate, be the nominee, and most likely lose to Donald Trump in the general election. But he will be the candidate. That is my prediction.
You think?
I think Donald Trump mops the floor with him in this, even though they have the buttons and all that. You can't compare. Again, you cannot compare.
We got to be
4 years ago
like,
to right now. People aren't stupid. And that middle that he's talking about, those middle people are going to see right through the BS. 1,000%.
What do you think, PBD? Predictions.
I think you have to. The editors that are on Trump's team are creative editors, okay, where they can make good clips and get it out there as soon as possible. And he's going to have moments. And Trump doesn't need somebody to write like, here's 7 lines to use as comeback.
Yeah.
Trump's a rapper.
He's from New York. He's a New York rapper.
No, he's a rapper. Trump could have been a rapper. Yeah. Trump was a poor father away from being a rapper. Okay. What? He would have been the first Eminem.
Yeah,
before there was Eminem, there was.
You gotta find the Drake Hotline Bling Trump video.
Yeah, so I don't think Trump's lacking. Like to me, when you're so confident in your ability to be witty and debate, like you're fiending this moment. I feel like he's been waiting. Like how it's like you're 8 years old and it's Christmas and you can't say, I don't want to wake up as a gift bag. I want to wait for this. I feel like he's like, dude, let's go. I want to do this already. I feel like he's there right now. I'm telling you, when you're in flow, he's in flow. Mm-hmm. It's very interesting because when it was against Biden, he wasn't in flow.
Retards.
I'm going to give you one quick stat.
Unfair. This is unfair. This is unfair.
Cardio.
This is like, no. Now you got what you wanted. You saw 4 of mine. Yeah. You got 4 of his. Mm-hmm. How you like me now?
That's
really
what
it is. Again, he's a rapper.
Yep.
So, Rob, if we're ready, and by the way,
1 second,
with your permission, CNN, we're going to watch you, but you can do whatever you're doing. We're going to watch it with our crowd here, and we'll be reacting to the debate. Rob, if it's up, you want to put it up? And the audience out there, while you're watching this, I think it's 90 minutes.
Yep.
There will be 2
5-minute breaks.
5-minute breaks. And then at the end, we'll come back and we'll react to it the last 30 minutes to an hour. And then we'll bid you a good evening. Now, we're hoping there's some fireworks tonight when this thing gets started, but we'll see.
Yeah,
By the way, wasn't there an event where Biden was late 15, 20 minutes?
The State of the Union, he was late.
Oh, he was late 45 minutes because of traffic.
Well, the protesters,
Well, it's not a
and he
fair
was
debate
dapping up
because
everybody.
moderator can mute
Yeah.
Can
people
I give you
talking.
one little piece of data
go
real
ahead.
quick?
Go ahead.
By the way, Tom, if you're watching,
By
shout
the way,
out to the Biz Doc.
Kelly, we'll keep
Yeah.
going until this thing, they're
Okay.
on the stage. We'll go. So, Adam, keep going.
Yeah.
By the way, Tom is somewhere in the world.
Yeah.
He's somewhere in the world. Tommy, can everybody say, Tommy, we love you?
We love you, Thomas.
And by the way, Tommy, we truly love you, and he knows it. Go ahead, Adam.
Well, Tom, this one's for you, Tom, because everybody knows that
Princess, yes,
you
go
know,
ahead.
words talk.
I have to say it on behalf
Yes.
of Tom, for sure.
Pat.
I know it upsets you a lot.
It rolls off my back.
I
It's
know
just
it
thick skin
upsets
at this
you.
point, Pat.
Jake, bitch.
Shout out to Tom, wherever he is in the world right now with his family. But he always says, words talk, numbers scream. Right, Brandon? I got it right this time. You talk about Trump flowing, doing his thing. Here's some numbers for you, stats for Tom out there. Joe Biden, this is going to mark his 30th national debate. 30th. I'm talking, he ran for president in the 80s, 90s, 2000s. This is his 30th. It's more than anybody. But by the way, Donald Trump, this is his 15th presidential debate. So they both have more than anybody in particular categories right now. So these are guys that are not
all my favorite
lightweights,
reactions
inexperienced.
right now are all
There's 50 years of government and 50 years of
All right,
business
let's see what we got.
colliding.
Go
Here we
ahead.
go.
Something happened to the sound? Oh, they're fish tanking it, huh? Give me a second, guys.
President of the United States, Donald Trump.
I guess I'll have to do it like that. Maybe it'll... Who fucking knows? You guys get to look at my presidential picture.
Let's begin the debate, and let's start with the issue that voters consistently say is their top concern, the economy. President Biden, inflation has slowed, but prices remain high. Since you took office, the price of essentials has increased. For example, a basket of groceries that cost $100 then now costs more than $120. And typical home prices have jumped more than 30%. What do you say to voters who feel they are worse off under your presidency than they were under President Trump?
We got to take a look at what I was left when I became president and what Mr. Trump left me. We had an economy
Oh, he's already
in
fucked.
free fall. The pandemic was so badly handled. Many people were dying. All he said was, it's not that serious. Just inject a little bleach in your arm. You'll be all right. The economy collapsed. There were no jobs. Unemployment rate rose to 15%. It was terrible. And so what we had to do is try to put things back together again. And that's exactly what we began to do. We created 15,000 new jobs. We brought out the position where we have 800,000 new manufacturing jobs. But there's more to be done. There's more to be done. Working class people are still in trouble. I come from Scranton, Pennsylvania. I come of a household where the kitchen table, if the things weren't able to be met during the month, it was a problem. Price of eggs, the price of gas, the price of housing, the price of a whole range of things. That's why I'm working so hard to make sure I deal with those problems. And we're going to make sure that we reduce the price of housing. We're going to make sure we build 2 million new units. We're going to make sure we cap rents so corporate greed can't take over. The combination, what I was left with in corporate greed, is the reason why we're in this problem right now. In addition to that, we're in a situation where if you take a look at all that was done in his administration, he didn't do much at all. By the time he left, things were in chaos, literally chaos. And so we put things back together. We created, I said, those jobs. We make sure we had a situation where
I don't know. Pandemic, chaos.
Prescription drugs, which is a major issue for many people, to $15 for a insulin shot as opposed to $400. No senior has to pay more than $200 for any drug, all the drugs they can include beginning next year. And the situation is and we're going to make that available to everybody, to all Americans. So we're working to bring down the price of around the kitchen table, and that's what we're going to get done.
Thank you. President Trump?
We had the greatest economy in the history of our country. We have never done so well. Everybody was amazed by it. Other countries were copying us.
All right, sweet, it works.
COVID. And when we did, we spent the money necessary so we wouldn't end up in a Great Depression, the likes of which we had in 1929. By the time we finished, so we did a great job. We got a lot of credit for the economy, a lot of credit for the military, and no wars, and so many other things.
No.
Everything was rocking good. But
I was thinking that, Yeti.
For, and we should have, is getting us out of that COVID mess. He created mandates that was a disaster for our country. But other than that, we had given them back a country where the stock market actually was higher than pre-COVID, and nobody thought that was even possible. The only jobs he created are for illegal immigrants and bounce-back jobs, a bounce-back from the COVID. He has not done a good job. He's done a poor job, and inflation's killing our country. It is absolutely killing us.
Thank you. President Biden?
Well, look, the greatest economy in the world. He's the only one who thinks that, I think. I don't know anybody else who thinks he had the greatest economy in the world.
We were.
And, you know, the fact of the matter is that we found ourselves in a situation where his economy...
Wait, why does he have fucking notes?
...the wealthy. He had the largest tax cut in American history, $2 trillion. He raised a deficit larger than any president has in any one term. He's the only president other than Herbert Hoover who's lost more jobs than he had when he began, since Herbert Hoover. The idea that he did something that was significant, and the military, you know...
Why does he have fucking notes again?
Still killing people in Afghanistan. He didn't do anything about that. When he was president, we were still finding ourselves in a position where you had a notion that we were this safe country. The truth is, I'm the only president this century that doesn't have this decade, that doesn't have any troops dying anywhere in the world like he did.
What?
President Trump, I want to
What?
follow up if I can.
Am I allowed to respond to him?
Well,
Afghanistan, bitch.
With the minute that we give you, I want to follow up. You want to impose a
You forget about that?
on all goods coming into the U.S. How will you ensure that that doesn't drive prices even higher?
It's not going to drive them higher. It's just going to cost countries that have been ripping us off for years, like China and many others, in all fairness to China. It's going to just force them to pay us a lot of money, reduce our deficit tremendously, and give us a lot of power for other things. But he made a statement. The only thing he was right about is I gave you the largest tax cut in history. I also gave you the largest
cut
in history. That's why we had all the jobs. And the jobs went down, and then they bounced back, and he's taking credit for bounce-back jobs. You can't do that. He also said he inherited 9% inflation. No, he inherited almost no inflation, and it stayed that way for 14 months. And then it blew up under his leadership because they spent money like a bunch of people that didn't know what they were doing. And they don't know what they were doing. It was probably the worst administration in history. There's never been. And as far as Afghanistan is concerned, I was getting out of Afghanistan, but we were getting out with dignity, with strength, with power. He got out. It was the most embarrassing day in the history of our country's life.
Damn right
President
it was.
Trump, over the last 8 years,
Piece
under
of
both
shit.
of your administrations, the national debt soared to record highs.
Look at Biden's
According to
face.
a new
He's fucked.
Nonpartisan analysis, President Trump, your administration approved $8.4 trillion in new debt, while so far, President Biden, you've approved $4.3 trillion in new debt. So, former President Trump, many of the tax cuts that you signed into law are set to expire next year. You want to extend them and go even further, you say. With the U.S. facing trillion-dollar deficits and record debt, why should top earners and corporations pay even less in taxes than they do now?
Because the tax cuts spurred the greatest economy that we've ever seen.
I know, I haven't seen his podium yet.
COVID. It was so strong that we were able to get through COVID much better than just about any other country. But we spurred, that tax spurred. Now, when we cut the taxes, as an example, the corporate tax was cut down to 21% from 39%, plus beyond that. We took in more revenue with much less tax, and companies were bringing back trillions of dollars back into our country. The country was going like never before, and we were ready to start paying down debt. We were ready to start using the liquid gold right under our feet, the oil and gas right under our feet. We were going to have something that nobody else has had. We got hit with COVID. We did a lot to fix it. I gave him an unbelievable situation with all of the therapeutics and all of the things that we came up with. We gave him something great. Remember, more people died under his administration, even though we had largely fixed it. More people died under his administration than our administration, and we were right in the middle of it, something which a lot of people don't like to talk about. But he had far more people dying in his administration. He did the mandate, which is a disaster, mandating it. The vaccine went out. He did a mandate on the vaccine, which is the thing that people most objected to about the vaccine. And he did a very poor job, just a very poor job. And I will tell you, not only poor there, but throughout the entire world, we're no longer respected as a country. They don't respect our leadership. They don't respect the United States anymore. We're like a third world nation between weaponization of his election, trying to go after his political opponent, all of the things he's done. We've become like a third world nation, and it's a shame. The damage he's done to our country. And I'd love to ask him, and will, why he allowed millions of people to come in here from prisons, jails, and mental institutions to come into our country and destroy our country.
President Trump, we will get to immigration later in this block. President Biden,
look at his face.
An opportunity to respond to this question about the national debt.
He had the largest national debt of any president in a 4-year period, number one. Number two, that $2 trillion tax cut benefited the very wealthy. What I'm going to do is fix the tax system. For example, we have 1,000 trillionaires in America. Billionaires
we did?
in America. And what's happening? They're in a situation where they, in fact, pay 8.2% in taxes. If they just paid 24% or 25%, either one of those numbers, they'd raise $500 billion, I should say, in a 10-year period. We'd be able to
his math sucks.
Debt. We'd be able to help make sure that all those things we need to do, child care, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our health care system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID. With dealing with everything we have to do with.
He's done.
If
he's not getting the nomination.
Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump.
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's destroying Medicare because all of these people are coming in. They're putting them on Medicare. They're putting them on Social Security. They're going to destroy Social Security. This man is going to single-handedly destroy Social Security. These millions and millions of people coming in.
Been happening long before him.
Them on Social Security. He will wipe out Social Security. He will wipe out Medicare. So he was right in the way he finished that sentence. And it's a shame. What's happened to our country in the last 4 years is not to be believed. Foreign countries, I'm friends with a lot of people, they cannot believe what happened to the United States of America. We're no longer respected. They don't like us.
JFK.
We give them everything they want, and they think we're stupid. They think we're very stupid people. What we're doing for other countries, and they do nothing for us. What this man has done is absolutely criminal.
Thank you, President Trump. Dana?
This is the first presidential election since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. This morning, the court ruled on yet another abortion case, temporarily allowing emergency abortions to continue in Idaho.
I saw that this morning.
Restrictive ban. Former President Trump, you take credit for the decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, which returned the issue of abortion to the states.
Correct.
However, the federal government still plays a role in whether or not women have access to abortion pills. They're used in about 2/3 of all abortions. As president, would you block abortion medication?
First of all, the Supreme Court just approved the abortion pill, and I agree with their decision to have done that, and I will not block it. And if you look at this whole question that you're asking, complex but not really complex. 51 years ago, you had Roe v. Wade, and everybody wanted to get it back to the states. Everybody, without exception. Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives. Everybody wanted it back. Religious leaders. And what I did is I put 3 great Supreme Court justices on the court, and they happened to vote in favor of killing Roe v. Wade and moving it back to the states. This is something that everybody wanted.
Yo, it's hard to take this debate serious now.
How many weeks and how many this
with that fucking book of notes.
But every legal scholar throughout the world, the most respected, wanted it brought back to the states. I did that. Now the states are working it out. If you look at Ohio, it was a decision that was an end result that was a little bit more liberal than you would have thought. Kansas, I would say the same thing. Texas is different. Florida is different. But they're all making their own decisions right now. And right now, the states control it. That's the vote of the people. Like Ronald Reagan, I believe in the exceptions. I am a person that believes. And frankly, I think it's important to believe in the exceptions. Some people, you have to follow your heart. Some people don't believe in that. But I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and the life of the mother.
There you go.
It's very important. Some people don't. Follow your heart.
I do.
You have to get elected also. And because that has to do with other things. You got to get elected. The problem they have is they're radical because they will take the life of a child in the 8th month, the 9th month, and even after birth. After birth, if you look at the former governor of Virginia, he was willing to do this. He said, we'll put the baby aside and we'll determine what we do with the baby, meaning we'll kill the baby. What happened is we brought it back to the states, and the country is now coming together on this issue. It's been a great thing.
Thank you. President Biden?
It's been a terrible thing, what you've done. The fact is that the vast majority of constitutional scholars supported Roe when it was decided. Supported Roe. And that's this idea that they're all against it is just ridiculous. And this is the guy who says the state should be able to have it. We're in a state where in 6 weeks, you don't even know whether you're pregnant or not, but you cannot see a doctor, and have him decide on what your
Right. So why make it federal? Make it state.
The idea that states are able to do this is a little like saying we're going to turn civil rights back to the states. Let each state have a different rule. Look, there's so many young women who have been, including a young woman who just was murdered, and he went to the funeral.
Huh?
And the idea that she was murdered by an immigrant coming in to talk about that. But here's the deal: there's a lot of young women who are being raped by their in-laws, by their spouses, brothers and sisters, it's just ridiculous, and they can do nothing about it. And they try to arrest them when they cross state lines.
Thank you.
What fucking happened?
Young women murdered by the same people he allows to come across our border. We have a border that's
What
the most
the fuck
dangerous
just
place
happened?
anywhere in the world. Considered the most dangerous place anywhere in the world. And he opened it up, and these killers are coming into our country, and they are raping and killing women. And it's a terrible thing. As far as the abortion is concerned, it is now back with the states. The states are voting.
This is embarrassing.
It's frankly a very liberal decision. In many cases, it's the opposite. But they're voting, and it's bringing it back to the vote of the people, which is what everybody wanted, including the founders, if they knew about this issue, which frankly they didn't. But they would have. Everybody wanted brought back. Ronald Reagan wanted it brought back. He wasn't able to get it. Everybody wanted it brought back, and many presidents had tried to get it back. I was the one to do it. And again, this gives it the vote of the people, and that's where they wanted it. Every legal scholar wanted it that way.
Trump's got notes.
Of abortion, President Biden, 7 states.
I don't know if he's using them.
I'll let you do that. This is the same topic. 7 states have no legal restrictions on how far into a pregnancy a woman can obtain an abortion. Do you support any legal limits on how late a woman should be able to terminate a pregnancy?
I supported Roe v. Wade, which had 3 trimesters. The first time is between the woman and the doctor. Second time is between the doctor and an extreme situation. The third time is between the doctor, between the woman and the state. The idea that the politicians...
Those trimesters, man.
...want the politicians to be the ones making decisions about women's health is ridiculous. That's the last. No politician should be making that decision. A doctor should be making those decisions. That's how it should be run. That's what you're going to do. And if I'm elected, I'm going to restore Roe v. Wade.
So that means he can
But that's not a law.
Baby in the 9th month and even after birth, because some states, Democrat run, take it after birth. Again, the former governor of Virginia, put the baby down, then we decide what to do with it. So he's willing to, as we say, rip the baby out of the womb in the 9th month and kill the baby. Nobody wants that to happen, Democrat or Republican. Nobody wants it to happen.
That is simply not true. The Roe v. Wade does not provide for that. That's not the circumstance. Only if a woman's life is in danger, she's going to die. That's the only circumstance in which that can happen. But we are not for late-term abortion, period.
Under Roe v. Wade, you have late-term abortion. You can do whatever you want, depending on the state. You can do whatever you want. We don't think that's a good thing. We think it's a radical thing. We think the Democrats are the radicals, not the Republicans.
For 51 years, that was the law. 51 years, constitutional scholarship said it was the right way to go. 51 years, and it was taken away because this guy put very conservative members on the Supreme Court.
51 years you were in fucking politics.
What's he going to do? What's he going to do? In fact, if the MAGA Republicans, he gets elected, and the MAGA Republicans control the Congress, and they pass a universal ban on abortion, period, across the board at 6 weeks or 7 or 8 or 10 weeks, something very, very conservative. Is he going to sign that bill? I'll veto it. He'll sign it.
Thank you.
Let's turn now to the issue of immigration and border security.
Oh, you see that shit?
A record number of migrants have illegally crossed the southern border on your watch. Overwhelming border states and overburdening cities such as New York and Chicago, and in some cases causing real safety and security concerns. Given that, why should voters trust you to solve this crisis?
Because we worked very hard to get a bipartisan agreement that not only changed all of that, it made sure that we are in a situation where you had no circumstance where they could come across the border with the number of border police there are now. We significantly increased the number of asylum officers. By the way, the Border Patrol endorsed my position.
No, they didn't.
We find ourselves in a situation where when he was president, he was separating babies from their mothers, putting them in cages, making sure the families were separated.
Also disproven.
What I've done since I've changed the law, what's happened? I've changed it in a way that now you're in a situation where there are 40% fewer people coming across the border illegally. That's better than when he left office. And I'm going to continue to move until we get to...
there was almost none coming across the border.
The total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look, we had the safest border in the history of our country. The border, all he had to do was leave it. All he had to do was leave it. He decided to open up our border, open up our country to people that are from prisons, people that are from mental institutions, insane asylum, terrorists. We have the largest number of terrorists coming into our country right now, all terrorists, all over the world, not just in South America, all over the world. They come from the Middle East, everywhere. All over the world, they're pouring in. And this guy just left it open. And he didn't need legislation because I didn't have legislation. I said, close the border. We had the safest border in history. In that final couple of months of my presidency, we had, according to Border Patrol, who is great, and by the way, who endorsed me for president, but I won't say that.
They actually did.
They endorsed me for president. Brandon, just speak to him. But look, we had the safest border in history. Now we have the worst border in history. There's never been anything like it. And people are dying all over the place, including the people that are coming up in caravans.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden?
The only terrorist who's done anything crossing the border is one who came along and killed under his administration, killed an Al-Qaeda person coming in his administration.
I'm sorry?
3 American soldiers. Killed 3 American soldiers. That's the only terrorist that's there. I'm not saying that no terrorist ever got through, but the idea they're emptying prisons, we're welcoming these people, that's simply not true. There's no data to support what he said. Once again, he's exaggerating, he's lying.
President Trump, staying on the topic of immigration, you've said that you're going to carry out, quote, the largest domestic deportation operation in American history, unquote. Does that mean that you will deport every undocumented immigrant in America, including those who have jobs, including those whose spouses are citizens, and including those who have lived here for decades? And if so,
do they pay taxes?
How will you do it?
Just 1 second. He said we killed 3 people. The people we killed are al-Baghdadi and Soleimani. The 2 greatest terrorists, biggest terrorists anywhere in the world, and it had a huge impact on everything, not just border, on everything. He's the one that killed people with the bad water, including hundreds of thousands of people dying, and also killing our citizens when they come in. We are living right now in a rat's nest. They're killing our people in New York, in California, in every state in the union, because we don't have borders anymore. Every state is now a border. And because of his ridiculous, insane, and very stupid policies, people are coming in and they're killing our citizens at a level that we've
killing
never seen.
and raping.
Migrant crime. I call it Biden migrant crime. They're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen before. And you're reading it like these 3 incredible young girls over the last few days. One of them, I just spoke to the mother, and they just had the funeral for this girl, 12 years old.
I wonder why it's not
This
working.
is horrible what's taken place. What's taken place in our country, we're literally an
How's that?
uncivilized country now. He doesn't want it to be. He just doesn't know. He opened the borders. Nobody's ever seen anything like. And we have to get a lot of these people out, or we have to get them out fast because they're going to destroy our country. Just take a look at where they're living. They're living in luxury hotels in New York City and other places. Our veterans are on the street. They're dying because
Can y'all
he
hear
doesn't
it?
care about our veterans. He doesn't care. He doesn't like the military at all, and he doesn't care about our veterans. Nobody been worse. I had the highest approval rating for veterans taking care of the VA. He has the worst. He's gotten rid of all the things that I approved. Choice that I got through Congress, all of the different things I approved, they abandoned. We had by far the highest, and now it's down in less than half because he's done all these great things that we did. And I think he did it just because I approved it, which is crazy. But he has killed so many people at our border by allowing all of these people to come in. And it's a very sad day in America.
President Biden, you have the mic.
Every single thing he said is a lie. Every single one. For example, veterans are a hell of a lot better off since I passed.
I got everything turned all the way up.
1 million of them now have insurance, and their families have it. Their families have it because what happened, whether it was Agent Orange or burn pits, they're all being covered now. And his group opposed that. We're also in a situation where we have great respect for veterans. My son spent a year in Iraq, living right next to one of those burn pits, came back with stage 4 glioblastoma. I was recently in France for D-Day, and I spoke about those heroes that died. I went to the World War II cemetery.
My bad,
World War I
guys.
cemetery he refused to go to.
My bad.
He was standing with his 4-star general, and he told me, he said, I don't want to go in there because they're a bunch of losers and suckers. My son was not a loser, was not a sucker. You're the sucker. You're the loser.
President Trump?
First of all, that was a made-up quote, suckers and losers. They made it up. It was in a third-rate magazine that's failing, like many of these magazines. He made that up. He put it in commercials. We've notified him. We had 19 people that said I didn't say it. And think of this. Who would say I'm at a cemetery or I'm talking about our veterans? Because nobody's taken better care. I'm so glad this came up, and he brought it up. There's nobody that's taken better care of our soldiers than I have. To think that I would, in front of generals and others, say suckers and losers. We have 19 people that said it was never said by me. It was made up by him, just like Russia was made up, just like the 51 intelligence agents are made up.
On me, guys.
Just like the new thing with the 16 economists are talking. It's the same thing. 51 intelligence agents said that the laptop was Russia disinformation. It wasn't. That came from his son, Hunter. It wasn't Russia disinformation. He made up the suckers and losers, so he should apologize to me right now.
4-star general standing to your side who was on your staff who said you said it, period. That's number one. And number two, the idea that I have to apologize to you for anything along the line. We've done more for veterans than any president has in American history. And they now are in their family. The only sacred obligation we have as a country is to care for our veterans when they come home and their families and equip them when they go to war. That's what we're doing. That's what the VA is doing now. They're doing more for veterans than ever before in our history.
All right. Thank you so much.
Let's move to the topic of foreign policy. I want to begin with Russia's war against Ukraine, which is now in its third year. Former President Trump, Russian President Vladimir Putin says he'll only end this war if Russia keeps the Ukrainian territory it has already claimed and Ukraine abandons its bid to join NATO. Are Putin's terms acceptable to you?
First of all, our veterans and our soldiers can't stand this guy. They can't stand him.
Facts.
They think he's the worst commander-in-chief, if that's what you call him, that we've ever had. They can't stand him. So let's get that straight. And they like me more than just about any of them. And that's based on every single bit of information. As far as Russia and Ukraine, if we had a real president, the president that knew, that was respected by Putin, he would have never
what is happening to his
Ukraine.
faith?
A lot of people are dead right now, much more than people know. You know, they talk about numbers. You can double those numbers, maybe triple those numbers. He did nothing to stop it. In fact, I think he encouraged Russia from going in. I'll tell you what happened. He was so bad with Afghanistan. It was such a horrible embarrassment, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, that when Putin watched that and he saw the incompetence, that he should have fired those generals, like I fired the one that you mentioned. And so he's got no love lost. But he should have fired those generals. No general got fired for the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country,
Yeah,
Afghanistan, where we left billions of dollars of equipment behind. We lost 13 beautiful soldiers, and 38 soldiers were obliterated. And by the way, we left people behind, too. We left American citizens behind. When Putin saw that, he said, you know what? I think we're going to go in and maybe take this was his dream. I talked to him about it, his dream. The difference is he never would have invaded Ukraine. Never. Just like Israel would have never been invaded in a million years by Hamas. You know why? Because Iran was broke with me. I wouldn't let anybody do business with them. They ran out of money. They were broke. They had no money for Hamas. They had no money for anything. No money for terror. That's why you had no terror at all.
Because we had
during my administration. This place, the whole world is blowing up under him.
President Biden?
I've never heard so much malarkey in my whole life. Look, the fact of the matter is that we're in a situation where, let's take the last point first. Iran attacked American troops, caused brain damage for a number of these troops, and he did nothing about it. Recently, not when he was president, they attacked. He said they're just having headaches. That's all it is. He didn't do a thing when the attack took place, number one. Number two, we got over 100,000 Americans and others out of Afghanistan during that airlift. Number three, we found ourselves in a situation where, if you take a look at what Trump did in Ukraine, this guy told Trump, do whatever you want, and do whatever you want. And that's exactly what Trump did to encourage him, do whatever you want. And he went in. And listen to what he said when he went in. He was going to take Kyiv in 5 days, remember? Because it's part of the old Soviet Union. That's what he wanted to reestablish, Kyiv. And he, in fact, didn't do it at all. He wasn't able to get it done. And they've lost thousands and thousands of troops, 500,000 troops.
President Trump,
I never
come back
said
to you
that.
for 1 minute, I just want to go back to my original question, which is, are Putin's terms acceptable to you? Keeping the territory in Ukraine?
No, they're not acceptable. But look, this is a war that never should have started. If we had a leader in this war, he led everybody along. He's given $200 billion now or more to Ukraine. He's given $200 billion. That's a lot of money. I don't think there's ever been anything like it. Every time that Zelensky comes to this country, he walks away with $60 billion. He's the greatest salesman ever. And I'm not knocking him. I'm not knocking anything. I'm only saying the money that we're spending on this war, and we shouldn't be spending. It should have never happened. I will have that war settled between Putin and Zelensky as president-elect before I take office on January 20th. I'll have that war settled. People being killed so needlessly, so stupidly, and I will get it settled, and I'll get it settled fast before I take office.
President Biden, you have a minute.
The fact is that Putin is a war criminal. He's killed thousands and thousands of people. And he has made one thing clear. He wants to reestablish what was part of the Soviet Empire, not just a piece. He wants all of Ukraine. That's what he wants. And then you think he'll stop there? Do you think he'll stop when if he takes Ukraine? What do you think happens to Poland? What do you think of Belarus? What do you think happens to those NATO countries?
Actually, nothing.
And so if you want a war, you ought to find out what he's going to do, because if in fact he does what he says and walks away, and by the way, all that money we give Ukraine are from weapons we make here in the United States. We give them the weapons, not the money at this point. And our NATO allies have produced as much funding for Ukraine as we have. That's why we're strong.
Thank you. Moving on to the Middle East. In October, Hamas attacked Israel, killing more than 1,000 people and taking hundreds of hostages. Among those held and thought to still be alive are 5 Americans. Israel's response has killed thousands of Palestinians and created a humanitarian crisis in Gaza. President Biden, you've put forward a proposal to resolve this conflict, but so far Hamas has not released the remaining hostages, and Israel is continuing its military offensive in Gaza. So what additional leverage will you use to get Hamas and Israel to end the war? You have 2 minutes.
Number one, everyone from the United Nations Security Council straight through to the G7 to the Israelis and Netanyahu himself have endorsed the plan I put forward. Which has 3 stages to it. The first stage is trade the hostages for a ceasefire. Second phase is a ceasefire with additional conditions. The third phase is the end of the war. The only one who wants the war to continue is Hamas, number one. They're the only ones standing out. We're still pushing hard to get them to accept. In the meantime, what's happened? In Israel, we're finding that the only thing I've denied Israel was 2,000-pound bombs. They don't work very well in populated areas. They kill a lot of innocent people. We're providing Israel with all the weapons they need and when they need them. And by the way, I'm the guy that organized the world against Iran when they had a full-blown intercontinental ballistic missile attack on Israel. No one was hurt. No one Israeli was accidentally killed, and it just stopped. We saved Israel. We are the biggest producer of support for Israel of anyone in the world. And so there are two different things. Hamas cannot be allowed to be continued. We continue to send our experts and our intelligence people as to how they can get Hamas like we did bin Laden. You don't have to do it. And by the way, they've been greatly weakened, Hamas, greatly weakened, and they should be. They should be eliminated. But you've got to be careful for using certain weapons among population centers.
Just going back to Ukraine for 1 second. We have an ocean separating us. The European nations together have spent $100 billion, or maybe more than that, less than us. Why doesn't he call them and say, you got to put up your money like I did with NATO? I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. The Secretary General of NATO said Trump did the most incredible job I've ever seen. They wouldn't have any. They were going out of business. We were spending almost 100% of the money was paid by us. He didn't do that. He's getting you got to ask these people to put up the money. We're over $100 billion more spent, and it has a bigger impact on them because of location, because we have an ocean in between. You got to ask them. As far as Israel,
a little more than an ocean
and Hamas, Israel's the one that wants to go. He said the only one that wants to keep going is Hamas. Actually, Israel is the one, and you should let him go and let him finish the job. He doesn't want to do it. He's become like a Palestinian, but they don't like him because he's a very bad Palestinian. He's a weak one.
President Biden, you have a minute.
I've never heard so much
what are you asking about?
This is a guy who wants to get out of NATO. Are you going to stay in NATO? He's going to pull out of NATO. The idea that our strength lies in our alliances as well. It may be a big ocean, but we're ever able to avoid a war in Europe, a major war in Europe? What happens if, in fact, you have Putin continue to go into NATO? We have an Article 5 agreement. Attack on one is attack on all. You want to start the nuclear war he keeps talking about, go ahead.
Don't forget the other part of that treaty, though, Joe.
Ukraine, and then move on to Poland and other places. See what happens then. He has
NATO's
no
not
idea what the
supposed
hell
to
he's
move
talking about.
any further
and by the way,
east.
I got 50 other nations around the world to support Ukraine, including Japan and South Korea, because they understand that this kind of dislocation has a serious threat to the whole world peace. No major war in Europe has ever been able to be contained just to Europe.
President Trump, just to follow up, would you support the creation of an independent Palestinian state in order to achieve peace in the region?
I'd have to see, but before we do that, the problem we have is that we spend all the money. So they kill us on trade. I made great trade deals with the European nations because if you add them up, they're about the same size economically. Their economy is about the same size as the United States. And they were no cars, they don't want anything that we have, but we're supposed to take their cars, their food, their everything, their agriculture. I changed that. But the big thing I changed is they don't want to pay. And the only reason that he can play games with NATO is because I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. I said, and he's right about this, I said, no, I'm not going to support NATO if you don't pay. They asked me that question, would you guard us against Russia at a very secret meeting of the 28 states at that time, nations at that time? And I said, no, if you don't pay, I won't do that. And you know what happened? Billions and billions of dollars came flowing in the next day and the next months. But now we're in the same position. We're paying everybody's bills.
Let's turn to the issue of democracy. Former President Trump I want to ask you about January 6, 2021. After you rallied your supporters that day, some of them stormed the Capitol to stop the constitutionally mandated counting of electoral votes. As president, you swore an oath to, quote, preserve, protect, and defend, unquote, the Constitution. What do you say to voters who believe that you violated that oath through your actions and inaction on January 6th and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I don't think too many believe that. And let me tell you about January 6th. On January 6th, we had a great border. Nobody coming through, very few. On January 6th, we were energy independent. On January 6th, we had the lowest taxes ever. We had the lowest regulations ever. On January 6th, we were respected all over the world. All over the world, we were respected. And then he comes in, and we're now laughed at. We're like a bunch of stupid people. What happened to the United States' reputation under this man's leadership is horrible, including weaponization, which I'm sure at some point you'll be talking about, where he goes after his political opponent because he can't beat him fair and square.
You have 80 seconds left. My question was, what do you say to those voters who believe that you violated your constitutional oath through your actions and inaction on January 6, 2021, and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I didn't say that to anybody. I said peacefully and patriotically. And Nancy Pelosi, if you just watched the news from 2 days ago, on tape to her daughter, who's a documentary filmmaker, like they say. But she's saying, oh, no, it's my responsibility. I was responsible for this. Because I offered her 10,000 soldiers or National Guard, and she turned them down. And the mayor of, in writing, by the way, the mayor, in writing, turned it down, the mayor of D.C. They turned it down. I offered 10,000 because I could see, I had virtually nothing to do. They asked me to go make a speech. I could see what was happening. Everybody was saying they're going to be there on January 6th. They're going to be there. And I said, you know what? There's a lot of people coming. You could feel it. You could feel it, too, and you could feel it. And I said, they ought to have some National Guard or whatever. And I offered it to her. And she now admits that she turned it down. And it was the same day she was, I don't know, she can't be very happy with her daughter because it made her into a liar. She said, I take full responsibility for January 6th.
President Biden?
Look, he encouraged those folks to go up on Capitol Hill.
Did he?
One. I sat in the dining room off the Oval Office.
I know.
She sat there for 3 hours.
Thinks that's true.
3 hours watching, begging, being begged by his vice president and a number of his colleagues on the Republican side as well to do something, to call for a stop, to end it. Instead, they talked about these people being patriots and great patrons of America. In fact, he says he'll now forgive them for what they've done. They've been convicted. He says he wants to commute their sentences and say that no. But he went to every single court in the nation. I don't know how many cases, scores of cases, including the Supreme Court. And they said, no, this guy is responsible for doing what was done. He didn't do a damn thing. And these people should be in jail. And they should be the ones who are being held accountable. And he wants to let them all out. And now he says if he loses again, such a whiner that he is, that it could be a bloodbath.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
What they've done to some people that are so innocent, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. What you have done, how you've destroyed the lives of so many people. When they ripped down Portland, when they ripped down many other cities.
Seattle.
You go to Minnesota, Minneapolis, what they've done there with the fires all over the city. If I didn't bring in the National Guard, that city would have been destroyed. When you look at all of they took over big chunks of Seattle. I was all set to bring in the National Guard. They heard that. They saw them coming, and they left immediately. What he said about this whole subject is so off. Peacefully patriotic. One other thing. The Unselect Committee, which is basically two horrible Republicans that are all gone now, out of office, and Democrats, all Democrats, they destroyed and deleted all of the information they found because they found out we were right. We were right. And they deleted and destroyed all of the information. They should go to jail for that. If a Republican did that, they'd go to jail.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, I want to give you a minute.
The only person on this stage is a convicted felon is the man.
Oh, there it is.
Right now.
One.
And the fact of the matter is, what he's telling you is simply not true. The fact is that there was no effort on his part to stop what was going on up in Capitol Hill. And all those people, every one of those who were convicted, deserves to be convicted. The idea that they didn't kill somebody, just went in and broke down doors, broke the windows, occupied offices, turned over desks, turned them over statues. The idea that those people are patriots? Come on. When I asked him the first two debates we had, the debates we had first time around, I said, will you denounce the Proud Boys? He said, no, I'll tell them to stand by. The idea he's refusing, will you denounce these guys? Will you denounce the people we're talking about now? He did. You denounce the people who attacked that Capitol?
Oh.
What are you going to do?
I'm going to give you a minute, President Trump, for a follow-up question I have. After a jury convicted you of 34 felonies last month, you said if reelected, you would, quote, have every right to go after, unquote, your political opponents. You just talked about members of the Select Committee on January 6th going to jail. Your main political opponent is standing on stage with you tonight. Can you clarify exactly what it means about you feeling you have every right to go after your political opponents?
Well, I said my retribution is going to be success. We're going to make this country successful again, because right now it's a failing nation. My retribution is going to be success. But when he talks about a convicted felon, his son is a convicted felon at a very high level. His son is convicted, going to be convicted probably numerous other times.
So
should have been convicted before, but his Justice Department let the statute of limitations lapse on the most important things. But he could be a convicted felon as soon as he gets out of office. Joe could be a convicted felon with all of the things that he's done. He's done horrible things. All of the death caused at the border, telling the Ukrainian people that we're going to want $1 billion or you change the prosecutor. Otherwise, you're not getting $1 billion. If I ever said that, that's quid pro quo. That we're not going to do anything. We're not going to give you $1 billion unless you change your prosecutor, having to do with the son. This man is a criminal. This man, you're lucky. You're lucky. I did nothing wrong. We'd have a system that was rigged and disgusting. I did nothing wrong.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, you have said, I'm coming right to you, sir. You want to respond? Go ahead. I'll give you a minute to respond.
The idea that I did anything wrong relative to what you're talking about is outrageous. It's simply a lie, number one. Number two, the idea that you have a right to seek retribution against any American just because you're president is wrong. It's simply wrong. No president's ever spoken like that before. No president in our history has spoken like that before. Number three, the crimes that you are still charged with, and think of all the civil penalties you have. How many billions of dollars do you owe in civil penalties for molesting a woman in public, for doing a whole range of things, of having sex with a porn star on the night while your wife was pregnant? I mean, what are you talking about? You have the morals of an alley cat.
Give you a minute, sir.
I didn't have sex with a porn star, number one. Number two, that was a case that was started and moved. They moved a high-ranking official at DOJ into the Manhattan DA's office to start that case. That case is going to be appealed and won. We had a very terrible judge, a horrible judge, Democrat. The prosecutor were all high-ranking Democrats, appointed people, and both the civil and the criminal. He basically went after his political opponent because he thought it was going to damage me. But when the public found out about these cases, because they understand it better than he does, he has no idea what these cases are. But when they found out about these cases, you know what they did? My poll numbers went up, way up. You know that because you're reporting it. And we took in more money in the last 2 weeks than we've ever taken in the history of any campaign. I don't think any campaign has ever taken. Hundreds of millions of dollars came pouring in because the public knows it's a scam, and it's a guy that's after his political opponent because he can't win fair and square.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, you have said, quote, Donald Trump and his MAGA Republicans are determined to destroy American democracy. Do you believe that the tens of millions of Americans who are likely to vote for President Trump will be voting against American democracy?
The more they know about what he's done, yes. The more they know about what he's done. And there's a lot more coming. He's got a lot of cases down the road coming around. He's got a whole range of issues he has to face. I don't know what the juries will do, but I do know he has a real problem. And so the fact that, could you ever think you heard any president say that I'm going to seek retribution? Do you ever hear any president say that I thought Hitler had some good ideas? What got me involved to run in the first place after my son had died, I decided in Iraq, because of Iraq, I said I wasn't going to run again until I saw what happened in Charlottesville, Virginia. People coming out of the woods carrying swastikas on torches, and singing the same
Robert Byrd, there, Joe Biden.
They sang, when back in Germany, and a young woman got killed. I spoke to the mother, and they asked him. They said, "What do you think of those people? The ones who got killed, the one who tried to stop it, and the ones," he said, "I think they're fine people on both sides." What American
you realize that was
would ever
disproven
say Nazis coming out of fields
last
carrying
week?
torches, singing the same anti-Semitic bile, carrying swastikas were fine people? This is the guy who says
Sorry, you
Hitler's
say
done some good
anti-Semitic?
things. I'd like to know what they are. The good things Hitler's done, that's what he said. This guy has no sense of American democracy.
President Trump.
Jake, both of you know that story has been totally wiped out because when you see the sentence, it said 100% exoneration on that. So he just keeps it going. He says he ran because of Charlottesville. He didn't run because of Charlottesville. He ran because it was his last chance. He's not equipped to be president. You know it, and I know it. It's ridiculous. We have a debate. We're trying to justify his presidency. His presidency is, without question, the worst presidency in the history of our country. We shouldn't be having a debate about it. There's nothing to debate. He made up the Charlottesville story, and you'll see it's debunked all over the place. Every reasonable anchor has debunked it. And just the other day it came out where it was fully debunked. It's a nonsense story. He knows that, and he didn't run because of Charlottesville. He used that as an excuse to run.
President Biden.
And debunked. It happened. All you have to do is listen to what was said at the time.
Dude,
and the idea that somehow that's the only reason I ran. I ran because I was worried a guy like this guy could get elected. If he thought they were good people coming out of that forest, carrying those woods, carrying those torches, then he didn't deserve to be president. Didn't deserve to be president at all. And the idea that he's talking about all this being fabricated, we saw with our own eyes. We saw what happened on January 6th. We saw the people breaking through the windows. We saw people occupying his own vice president. Look, there's a reason why 40 of his 44 top cabinet officers refused to endorse him this time. His vice president hasn't endorsed him this time. So why? Why? They know him well. They serve with him. Why are they not endorsing him?
Thank you, President Biden. We're going to be right back with more from the CNN presidential debate.
Oh, that's interesting. Joe pretty much was done within the first 5 minutes, in my opinion. No way that he can overcome that. Unless they're giving him some fucking B12 and some Coke in the back right now. Or giving him a fresh notepad full of new notes. Almost like he had the answers, kind of, sort of. And either somebody put those notes in the wrong order, or Joe Biden just, I don't know. It's embarrassing. Like, I expect Joe to make a coherent point, and then he goes somewhere completely off in left field. We can be talking about blueberries growing in the wild, and he'll talk about strap-ons and a dildo. That was embarrassing. I wonder how the liberal media is going to try and like make this look as a L or a W for Biden. There's nothing they can do right now. The only thing they can do is like have him really just like freeze up and just like never recover, kind of like Mitch McConnell. And then like, oh yeah, we got to replace him. He's not there. He's been diagnosed with super overnight dementia. Yeah, it just happened overnight, guys. He was focused so much on the debate, it was just too much for him to handle. I'm not a doctor though, but I did stay at Holiday Inn once. Oh, I love this time of year because people are buying fireworks, and in the city, we're allowed to set them off. He did not yet bullhand. That's why when they started talking about VP, I was like, wait a second. Are we going to bring up a new VP? Hasn't happened yet. You know, Haystack, We could say, yeah, it's embarrassing. Biden is embarrassing. But how many of us expected something any better than what we've gotten? To be honest. I don't even know what's going on. Like, I halfway expect him to put cyanide in his water. I'm like, oh no, Joe Biden had a stroke. He stroked out. No. All right, I'm not making fun of stroke victims, all right? But if I was, I would probably be just like that. Yeah, I hear Mike Pence is like the number one pick right now. Like, everybody wants him. Well, see, Haystack, that's their fault for going green. If they had gasoline batteries, Biden might be all right. Oh, here we go.
Talk about persistent challenges you both faced in your first terms and you'd certainly face again in a second term. President Biden, while black unemployment dropped to a record low under your presidency, black families still earned far less than white families. Black mothers are still 3 times more likely to die from pregnancy-related causes, and black Americans are imprisoned at 5 times the rate of white Americans. What do you say to black voters who are disappointed that you haven't made more progress?
They acknowledge they made a lot of progress, number one.
94 crime bill.
The fact of the matter is there are more small black businesses that have been started than any time in history. Number two, the wages of black unemployment is the lowest level it's been in a long, long time. Number three, we're providing housing for black Americans and dealing with the segregation that exists among these corporations that collude to keep people out of their houses. And in addition to that, we find that the impact on the choice that black families have to make relative to child care is incredibly difficult. When we did the first major piece of legislation in the past, I was able to reduce black child care costs. I cut them in half.
Did you?
We got to make sure we provide for child care costs. We got to make sure, because when you provide those child care protections, you increase economic growth because more people can be in the job market. So there's more to be done, considerably more to be done. But we've done a great deal so far, and I'm not letting up, and they know it.
You have 49 seconds left.
What
do you say to black voters who are disappointed with the progress so far?
I say I don't blame them for being disappointed. Inflation is still hurting them badly. For example, I provided for the idea that any black family, first-time home buyer, should get a $10,000 tax credit to be able to buy their first home.
I didn't get a tax
so they can
credit.
Get started. I made sure that we're in a situation where all those black families and those black individuals who provided had to take out student loans that were ballooning, that if they were engaged in nursing, doctor, and anything having to do with volunteerism, if they paid their bills for 10 years on their student debt, all the rest is forgiven after 10 years. Millions have benefited from that. And we're going to do a whole lot more for black families.
Thank you, President Trump.
And he caused the inflation. He's blaming inflation, and he's right, it's been very bad. He caused the inflation, and it's killing black families and Hispanic families and just about everybody. It's killing people. They can't buy groceries anymore. They can't. You look at the cost of food where it's doubled,
it's affecting
tripled,
everybody,
and quadrupled.
Except for the
they
top
can't
10.
live. They're not living anymore. He caused this inflation. I gave him a country with essentially no inflation. It was perfect. It was so good. All he had to do is leave it alone. He destroyed it with his Green New scam and all this money that's being thrown out the window. He caused inflation. As sure as you're sitting there, the fact is that his big kill on the black people is the millions of people that he's allowed to come in through the border. They're taking black jobs now. And it could be 18, it could be 19, and even 20 million people. They're taking black jobs, and they're taking Hispanic jobs, and you haven't seen it yet, but you're going to see something that's going to be the worst in our history.
Thank you. President Biden?
There was no inflation when I became president. You know why? The economy was flat on its back. 15% unemployment. He decimated the economy, absolutely decimated the economy. That's why there was no inflation at the time. There were no jobs. We provided thousands of millions of jobs for individuals who were in all communities, including minority communities. We made sure that they have health insurance.
Remember those jobs he created with the Keystone?
The ACA has increased. I made sure that there are $8,000 per person in a family to get written off for health care. But this guy wants to eliminate that. They tried 50 times. He wants to get rid of the ACA again. And they're going to try again if they win. You find ourselves in a position where the idea that we're not doing anything. We put more police on the street than any administration has. He wants to cut the cops. We're providing for equity and making sure people have a shot to make it. There's a lot going on, but in inflation,
I don't know what you're talking about, James. You're making too much sense.
Tremendous malfeasance in the way he handled the pandemic.
Thank you. Another persistent challenge is the climate crisis. 2023 was the hottest year in recorded history, and communities across the country are confronting the devastating effects of extreme heat, intensifying wildfires, stronger hurricanes, and rising sea levels. Former President Trump, you've vowed to end your opponent's climate initiatives, but will you take any action as president to slow the climate crisis?
Well, let me just go back to what he said about
there is no climate crisis.
How close the police are to him. Almost every police group in the nation from every state is supporting Donald J. Trump. Almost every police group. And what he's done to the black population is horrible, including the fact that for 10 years he called them super predators. In the 1990s, we can't forget that. Super predators was his name, and he called it to them for 10, and they've taken great offense at it, and now they see it happening. But when they see what I did for criminal justice reform and for the historically black colleges and universities, where I funded them and got them all funded, and
he
the
doesn't even
opportunity
look the same
zones
when he first started
with
right
Tim,
now.
as you know, Tim Scott was incredible. He did a great job. Great senator from South Carolina.
What in the world?
He came to me with the idea, and it was a great idea. It's one of the most successful economic development acts ever in the country. Opportunity zones, and the biggest beneficiary are blacks, and that's why we have the best numbers with them in maybe ever. They're saying ever. I read this morning where ever, the best numbers. He's lost much of the black population because he's done a horrible job for black people. He's also done a horrible job for Hispanics. But wait till you see these millions of people pouring into our country, and they're going to take the jobs, and it's already started, and you haven't seen anything yet. It's a disaster.
38 seconds left. President Trump, will you take any action as president to slow the climate crisis?
So I want absolutely immaculate clean water, and I want absolutely clean air, and we had it. We had H2O. We had the best numbers ever, and we were using all forms of energy, all forms, everything. And yet, during my 4 years, I had the best environmental numbers ever. And my top environmental people gave me that statistic just before I walked on the stage, actually.
I don't know where the hell he's been. The idea that anything he said is true. I've passed the most extensive climate change legislation in history.
How'd that work out for us?
We find ourselves, and by the way, black colleges. I came up with $15 billion for HBCUs, historic black universities and colleges.
Come on, Joe.
They don't have the kind of contributors that they have to.
Donald Trump gave the most money to HBCUs that you tried to
cancel. Than any white student can do. They just don't have the money, but now they'll be able to get those jobs in high tech. We're in a situation where the idea that he is claiming to have done something that had the cleanest water, he hadn't done a damn thing for the environment. He pulled out of the Paris Peace Accord, Climate Accord. I immediately joined it because if we reach 1.5 degrees Celsius at any one point, there's no way back. The only existential threat to humanity is climate change, and he didn't do a damn thing about it. He wants to undo all the
Nothing you can do is going to change that.
The Paris Accord was going to cost us $1 trillion, and China nothing, and Russia nothing, and India nothing. It was a ripoff of the United States. And I ended it because I didn't want to waste that money because they treat us horribly. We were the only ones who was costing us money. Nobody else was paying into it. And it was a disaster. But everything that he said just now, I'll give you an example. I heard him say before insulin. I'm the one that got the insulin down for the seniors. I took care of the seniors. What he's doing is destroying all of our medical programs because the migrants coming in, they want everybody. And look, I have the biggest heart on the stage. I guarantee you that. And I want to take care of people. But we're destroying our country. They're taking over our schools, our hospitals, and they're going to be taking over Social Security. He is destroying Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid.
The idea is that we, in fact, we were the only ones of consequence who were not members of the Paris Accord. How can we do anything if we're not able to? The United States can't get its pollution under control. One of the largest polluters in the world, number one. We're making significant progress. By 2035, we will have cut pollution in half. We have made significant progress, and we're continuing to make progress. We set up a climate corps for thousands of young people will learn how to deal with climate, just like the Peace Corps. And we're moving in directions that are going to significantly change the elements of cause of pollution. But the idea that he claims that he has the biggest heart up here and he's really concerned about pollution and about climate, I've not seen any indication of that. And by the way, with regard to prescription drugs, one company agreed that they would reduce the price to $35, which I was calling for, one, voluntarily. I made sure every company in the world, every pharmaceutical company, cannot have to pay. Thank you. And by the way...
No, you created your own pharmaceutical company.
So every day, millions of Americans struggle just to make ends meet. For many older Americans, Social Security provides a critical lifeline. President Biden, if nothing is done to Social Security, seniors will see their benefits cut in just over 10 years. Will you name tonight one specific step that you're willing to take to keep Social Security solvent?
Yes, make the very wealthy begin to pay their fair share.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Right now, everybody making under $170,000 pays 6% of their income, of their paycheck, every single time they get a paycheck from the time the first one they get when they're 18 years old. The idea that they're going to, I've been proposing that everybody, the millionaires pay 1%. 1%. So no one I would not raise the cost of Social Security for anybody under $400,000. After that, I began to make the wealthy begin to pay their fair share by increasing from 1% beyond to be able to guarantee the program for life.
I bet if we
so you
stop
still have
spending
82
money to
seconds
foreign
left.
countries.
Are there any other measures that you think that would be able to help keep Social Security solvent, or is that one enough?
Well, no, that one enough will keep it solvent. But the biggest thing I'll do if we defeat this man, because he wants to get rid of Social Security. He thinks there's plenty to cut in Social Security. He's wanting to cut Social Security and Medicare, both times. And and if you look at the program put forward by the House Republican caucus that he, I believe, supports, is in fact want to cut it as well. The idea that we don't need to protect our seniors is ridiculous. And by the way, the American public has greater health care coverage today than ever before.
Protect our seniors
and
is
on the
ridiculous.
ACA, as I said, you're in a circumstance where 400,000 people, 40 million people would not have insurance because they have a pre-existing condition. The only thing that allows them to have that insurance is the fact that they, in fact, are part of the ACA. And by the way, the other thing is, we're in a situation where we talk about education for black communities. I've raised the amount of money for Pell Grants by another $8,000. So anybody making under $70,000 a year is going to be able to get $15,000 toward their tuition.
15.
He just doesn't know what he's talking about.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump.
So I've dealt with politicians all my life. I've been on this side of the equation for the last 8 years. I've never seen anybody lie like this guy. He lies. I've never seen it. He could look you in the face. About so many other things, too. And we mentioned the laptop. We mentioned Russia, Ukraine. Everything he does is a lie. It's misinformation and disinformation. The losers and suckers story that he made up is a total lie on the military. It's a disgrace. But Social Security, he's destroying it because millions of people are pouring into our country, and they're putting them onto Social Security. They're putting them onto Medicare, Medicaid. They're putting them in our hospitals. They're taking the place of our citizens. What they're doing to the VA, to our veterans, is unbelievable. Our veterans are living in the street, and these people are living in luxury hotels. He doesn't know what he's doing. And It's really coming back. I've never seen such anger in our country before.
President Biden?
The idea that veterans are not being taken care of, I told you before. And by the way, when I said suckers and losers, he acknowledged after that he fired that general. That general got fired.
Good.
Because he's the one that acknowledged that that's what he said. He was the one standing with Trump when he said it, number one. Number two, the idea that we're going to be in a situation where all these millions and millions, the way he talks about it, illegal aliens are coming into the country and taking away our jobs.
Shit, they're getting paid better than me.
We have the fastest growing economy in the world. The reason why we have the most successful economy in the world.
He spent 2 seconds
We're
on
doing better than any other nation in the world. And by the way, those 15 Nobel laureates he talked about being phony, those 15 Nobel laureates, economists, they all said that if Trump is reelected, we're likely to have a recession and inflation is going to increasingly go up. And by the way, worst president in history, 159 presidential scholars voted him the worst president in the history of the United States.
The same ones that said your
President Biden, thank you so much.
plan
Let's
was
turn to the cost
old.
of child care, which many American families struggle to afford. President Trump, both you and President Biden have tried to address this issue.
Biden said it's
but the
affordable.
average cost of child care in this country has risen to more than $11,000 a year per child. For many families, the cost of child care for 2 children is more than their rent. In your second term, what would you do to make child care more affordable?
What the fuck?
Just to go back, the general got fired because he was no good. And if he said that, that's why he made it up. But we have 19 people that said I didn't say it, and they're very highly respected, much more so than him. The other thing is, he doesn't fire people. He never fired people. I've never seen him fire anybody. I did fire a lot. I fired Comey because he was no good. I fired a lot of the top people at the FBI, drained the swamp. They were no good. Not easy to fire people. You'd pay a price for it, but they were no good. I inherited these people. I didn't put him there. I didn't put Comey there. He was no good. I fired him. This guy hasn't fired anybody. He never fires. He should have fired every military man that was involved with that the Afghanistan
100%
horror show. The most embarrassing moment in the history of our country.
I'm going to be very pro-Trump.
He didn't fire. Did you fire anybody? Did you fire anybody that's on the border that's allowed us to have the worst border in the history of the world? Did anybody get fired for allowing 18 million people, many from prisons, many from mental institutions? Did you fire anybody that allowed our country to be destroyed? Joe, our country is being destroyed as you and I sit up here and waste a lot of time on this debate. This shouldn't be a debate. He is the worst president. He just said about me because I said it. But look, he's the worst president in the history of our country. He's destroyed our country. Now all of a sudden he's trying to get a little tough on the border. He came out with a nothing deal, and it reduced it a little bit, like this much. It's insignificant. He wants open borders. He wants our country to either be destroyed or he wants to pick up those people as voters. And I don't think we just can't let it happen. If he wins this election, our country doesn't have a chance, not even a chance, of coming out of this rut. We probably won't have a country left anymore. That's how bad it is. He is the worst in history by far.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden?
We're the most admired country in the world. We're the United States of America. There's nothing beyond our capacity. We have the finest military in the history of the world, the finest in the history of the world. No one thinks we're weak. No one wants to screw around with us. Nobody, number one. Number two, the idea that we're talking about worst presidents. I wasn't joking. Look it up or go online. 159 or 58, don't hold me the exact number, presidential historians.
Joe, you had the lowest enlistment
rate. Who was the worst
rate
president
ever.
in American history. Best to worst. They said he was the worst in all of American history. That's a fact. That's not conjecture. He can argue they're wrong, but that's what they voted. The idea that he is doing anything to deal with child care, he did virtually nothing to child care. We should significantly increase the child care tax credit. We should significantly increase the availability of women and men or single parents to be able to go back to work. And we should encourage businesses to have.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, the question was about what would you do to make child care more affordable, if you want to take your minute.
Just so you understand, we have polling, we have other things that they rate him the worst because what he's done is so bad. And they rate me, I'll show you, I will show you, and they rate me one of the best, okay? And if I'm given another 4 years, I will be the best. I think I'll be the best. Nobody's ever created an economy like us. Nobody ever cut taxes like us. He's the only one I know. He wants to raise your taxes by 4 times. He wants to raise everybody's taxes by 4 times. He wants the Trump tax cuts to expire. So everybody, including the two of you, are going to pay 4 to 5 times. Nobody ever heard of this before. All my life, I'd grow up and I'd see politicians talking about cutting taxes. When we cut taxes, as I said, we did more business. Apple and all these companies, they were bringing money back into our country. The worst president in history by far, and everybody knows it.
President Biden?
Look, the fact of the matter is that he's dead wrong about, he's increased the tariff, he will increase the taxes on middle-class people. I said I'd never raise a tax on anybody making less than $400,000. I didn't. But this tariff is 10% tariffs.
Oh, my
Everything
tax
coming
went
into
up.
the country, you know what the economists say? That's going to cost the average American $2,500 a year more because they're going to have to pay the difference in food and all the things that are important. Number two, he's in a situation where he talks about how he has not raised, he's somehow helped the middle class. The middle class have been devastated by you. Now you want a new tax cut of $5 trillion over the next 10 years, which is going to fundamentally bankrupt the country. You had the largest deficit of any president in American history, number one. Number two, you have not, in fact, made any contact, any progress with China. We are the lowest trade deficit with China since 2010.
Thank you, President Biden. Thank you, President Biden. Let's discuss an epidemic impacting millions of Americans that both of you have made a top priority in your first term, the opioid crisis. And for both of you, the number of overdose deaths in this country has gone up. Under your term, it went up. Under your term, it has gone up. Former President Trump, despite the efforts that both of you have made, more than 100,000 Americans are dying from overdoses every year, primarily from fentanyl and other opioids. What will you do to help Americans right now in the throes of addiction who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
To finish up, we now have the largest deficit in the history of our country under this guy. We have the largest deficit with China. He gets paid by China. He's a Manchurian candidate. He gets money from China. I think he's afraid to deal with them or something. But do you notice he never took out my tariffs because we bring in so much money with the tariffs that I imposed on China. He never took them away. He can't because it's too much money. It's tremendous. And we saved our steel industries, and there was more to come, but he hasn't done that. But he hasn't cut the tariffs because he can't, because it's too much money. But he's got the largest deficit in the history of our country, and he's got the worst situation with China. China's going to own us if you keep allowing them to do what they're doing to us as a country. They are killing us as a country, Joe, and you can't let that happen. You're destroying our country.
Starting with our farmland.
So, President Trump, you have 67 seconds left. The question was, what are you going to do to help Americans in the throes of addiction right now who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
Jake, we were doing very well at addiction until the COVID came along. We had the 2.5, almost 3 years of like nobody's ever had before, any country, in every way. And then we had to get tough. And it was the drugs pouring across the border it started to increase. We got great equipment. We bought the certain dog that's the most incredible thing that you've ever seen, the way they can spot it. We did a lot, and we were getting very low numbers, very, very low numbers. Then he came along. The numbers, have you seen the numbers now? It's not only the 18 million people that I believe is even low because the gotaways, they don't even talk about gotaways. But the numbers of the amount of drugs and human trafficking in women coming across our border, the worst thing I've ever seen, at numbers that nobody's ever seen under him because the border's so bad. But the number of drugs coming across our border now is the largest we've ever had by far.
President Trump, thank you. President Biden?
Fentanyl and the byproducts of fentanyl went down for a while.
Are you shitting me?
And I wanted to make sure we use the machinery that can detect fentanyl, these big machines that roll over everything that comes across the border. And it costs a lot of money. That was part of this deal we put together, this bipartisan deal. More fentanyl machines, more be able to detect drugs, more numbers of agents, more numbers of all the people at the border. And when we had that deal done, he called his Republican colleagues and said, don't do it. It's going to hurt me politically. No, he never argued it's not a good bill. It's a really good bill. We need those machines. We need those machines. And we're coming down very hard in every country in Asia in terms of precursors for fentanyl. And Mexico is working with us to make sure they don't have the technology to be able to put it together. That's what we have to do. We need those machines.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, and again, the question is about Americans in the throes of addiction right now, struggling to get the treatment they need.
Well, this does pertain to it. He ended Remain in Mexico.
Sure did.
He ended catch and release. I made it catch and release in Mexico, not catch and release here. We had so many things that we had done, hard negotiations with Mexico, and I got it all for nothing. It's just like when you have a hostage. We always pay $6 billion for a hostage. Every time we say it's a hostage. Now we have a hostage, a Wall Street Journal reporter, I think a good guy, and he's over there because Putin is laughing at this guy, probably asking for billions of dollars for the reporter. I will have him out very quickly as soon as I take office. Before I take office, I said by literally as soon as I win the election, I will have that reporter out. He should have had him out a long time ago, but Putin's probably asking for billions and billions of dollars because this guy pays it every time. We had 2 cases where we paid $6 billion for 5 people. I got 58 people out, and I paid essentially nothing.
Thank you, President Trump. Dana?
Let's turn to concerns that voters have about each of you. President Biden, you would be 86 at the end of your second term. How do you address concerns about your capability to handle the toughest job in the world well into your 80s?
Well, first of all, I spent half my career being criticized being the youngest person in politics. I was the second youngest person ever elected to the United States Senate, and now I'm the oldest. This guy's 3 years younger and a lot less competent. I think that just look at the record. Look at what I've done. Look how I've turned around the horrible situation he left me. As I said, 50 million new jobs, 800,000 manufacturing jobs, more investment in America, over billions of dollars in private investment in enterprises that we are growing. By the way, we brought an awful lot of people. Well, the whole idea of computer chips, we used to have 40% of the market. We invented those chips, and we lost it because he was sending people to find the cheapest jobs overseas and to bring home a product. So I went to South Korea. I convinced Samsung to invest billions of dollars here in the United States. And guess what? Those fabs, they call them, to build these chips, those fabs pay over $100,000. You don't need a college degree for them. And there's billions, about $40 billion already being invested and being built right now in the United States, creating significant jobs for Americans from all over the world.
So you can have a good
President Biden, you have
college degree.
40 seconds left. Would you like to add anything?
So why pay back college debt?
The idea that somehow we are this failing country. I never heard a president talk like this before. We're the envy of the world. Name me a single major country president who wouldn't trade places with the United States of America for all our problems and all our opportunities. We're the most progressive country in the world in getting things done. We're the strongest country in the world. We're a country in the world who keeps our word, and everybody trusts us. All of our allies and those who he coddles up to, from Kim Jong-un, he sends love letters to, and Putin, etc. They don't want to screw around with us.
Thank you. Former President Trump, to follow up, you would be 82 at the end of your second term. What do you say to voters who have concerns about your capabilities to serve?
Well, I took 2 tests, cognitive tests. I aced them, both of them, as you know. We made it public. He took none. I'd like to see him take one, just one, a real easy one. Like go through the first 5 questions. He couldn't do it. But I took 2 cognitive tests. I took physical exams every year. And, you know, we knock on wood wherever we may have wood, that I'm in very good health. I just won 2 club championships, not even senior, 2 regular club championships. To do that, you have to be quite smart, and you have to be able to hit the ball a long way. And I do it. He doesn't do it. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. He challenged me to a golf match. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. I think I'm in very good shape. I feel that I'm as in good a shape as I was 25, 30 years ago. Actually, I'm probably a little bit lighter, but I'm in as good a shape as I was years ago. I feel very good. I feel the same. But I was willing to take a cognitive test. And you know what? If I didn't do well, I aced him. Dr. Ronnie Jackson, who's a great guy when he was White House doctor. And then I took another one, a similar one. And one of them said they'd never seen anybody ace him.
Thank you. President Biden?
You can see he is 6'5" and only 223 pounds, or 235 pounds. Well, you said 6'4", 200. Well, anyway, that's what you're. Anyway, just take a look at what he says he is, and take a look at what he is. Look, I'd be happy to have a driving contest with him. The reason I got my handicap, which when I was vice president, down to a 6. And by the way, I told you before, I'm happy to play golf if you carry your own bag. Think you can do it?
That's the biggest liability. He's a 6 handicap of all.
I was an 8 handicap.
Yeah.
8.
But I've seen you swing. I know you swing.
Okay,
let's not act like children.
President Trump, we're going to turn
Let's not act like children.
to a specific concern that voters have about you. Will you pledge tonight that once all legal challenges have been exhausted, that you will accept the results of this election, regardless of who wins, and you will say right now that political violence in any form is unacceptable?
Well, I shouldn't have to say that, but of course I believe that.
I want Joe to say it, too.
Unacceptable. And if you would see my statements that I made on Twitter at the time, and also my statement that I made in the Rose Garden, you would say it's one of the strongest statements you've ever seen. In addition to the speech I made in front of, I believe, the largest crowd I've ever spoken to, and I will tell you, nobody ever talks about that. They talk about a relatively small number of people that went to the Capitol, and in many cases were ushered in by the police. And as Nancy Pelosi said, it was her responsibility, not mine. She said that loud and clear. But the answer is, if the election is fair, free, and I want that more than anybody. And I'll tell you something. I wish he was a great president, because I wouldn't be here right now. I'd be at one of my many places enjoying myself. I wouldn't be under indictment because I wouldn't have been his political opponent. Because he indicted me.
Holy shit.
Because I was his opponent. I wish he was a great president. I would rather have that. I wouldn't be here. I don't mind being here. But the only reason I'm here is he's so bad as a president that I'm going to make America great again. We're going to make America great again. We're a failing nation right now. We're a seriously failing nation. And we're a failing nation because of him. His policies are so bad. His military policies are insane. They're insane. These are wars that will never end with him. He will drive us into World War III, and we're closer to World War III than anybody can imagine. We are very, very close to World War III, and he's driving us there. And Kim Jong-un and President Xi of China, Kim Jong-un of North Korea, all of these, Putin, they don't respect him. They don't fear him. They have nothing going with this gentleman, and he's going to drive us into World War III.
You want a World War III, let him follow and win, and let Putin say, do what you want, NATO. Just do what you want. There's a thing called Article 5. An attack on one is an attack on all, and required response. The idea, I can't think of a single major leader in the world who wouldn't trade places with the job I've done and what they've done. Because we are a powerful nation. We have wonderful people. It's because of the people, not me. It's because of the American people. They're capable of anything, and they step up when they're needed. And right now, we're needed. We're needed to protect the world because our own safety is at stake. And again, you want to have a war, just let Putin go ahead and take Kyiv, make sure they move on, see what happens in Poland, Hungary, and other places along that border. Then you have a war.
President Trump, as I come back to you for a follow-up, the question was, will you accept the results of this election, regardless of who wins?
Just to finish what he said, if I might.
Oh, my God.
Russia, they took a lot of land from Bush. They took a lot of land from Obama and Biden. They took no land, nothing from Trump, nothing. He knew not to do it. He's not going to play games with me. He knew that. I got along with him very well, but he knew not to play games. He took nothing from me. But now he's going to take the whole thing from this man right here. That's a war that should have never started. It would have never started ever with me. And he's going to take Ukraine. And, you know, you asked me a question before, would you do this? He's got us in such a bad position right now with Ukraine and Russia because Ukraine's not winning that war. He said, I will never settle until such time. They're running out of people. They're running out of soldiers. They've lost so many people. It's so sad. They've lost so many people, and they've lost those gorgeous cities with the golden domes that are 1,000 years old, all because of him and stupid decisions. Russia would have never attacked. if I were
President Trump,
president.
the question was, will you accept the results of the election, regardless of who wins? Yes or no, please.
If it's a fair and legal and good election, absolutely. I would have much rather accepted these, but the fraud and everything else was ridiculous. And if you want, we'll have a news conference on it in a week, or we'll have another one of these in a week. But I will absolutely, there's nothing I'd rather do. It would be much easier for me to do that than I'm running again. I wasn't really going to run until I saw the horrible job he did. He's destroying our country. I would be very happy to be someplace else, in a nice location someplace. And again, no indictments, no political opponent stuff, because it's the only way he thinks he can win. But unfortunately, it's driven up my numbers and driven them up to a very high level because the people understand it.
Well, let's see what your numbers are when this election is over. Let's see. You're a whiner. When you lost the first time, you continued, you appealed and appealed to courts all across the country. Not one single court in America
so did Al Gore.
said any of your claims had any merit, state or local, none. But you continue to provoke this lie about somehow there's all this misrepresentation, all this stealing. There is no evidence of that at all. And I tell you what, I doubt whether you'll accept it because you're such a whiner. The idea, if you lose again, you accepting anything, you can't stand the loss. Something snapped in you when you lost the last time.
We'll be right back with more from the CNN presidential debate, live from Georgia.
Oh, shit. All right. So the first third was fucking dumb. The second third just got dumber. Now let's think of this last part. It should be the last one. I don't know how Biden's going to survive the rest of this debate. I really don't. He's going to have to get a KO, which, well, if those two got in a fight, I don't think anyone would win. Not even us watching it, because it'd just be sad, kind of like right now. Hey, it's the East Palestine train wreck. Buttigieg, what's up? Did you ever get charged for that? No? Bro, honestly, I don't know what that handicap shit in golf means, so I'm not even going to pretend like I do. I thought the purpose was to have the lowest number. KKK. Whoa. Secret message in that. Mm-hmm. Now that one, Matt. Yes. I like my little kind. Sorry. What, the cat? Sorry about that. Had to do some stuff. Let's see. What did I miss? Yo, look at that. Earth's flat. Yeah, don't believe in that. What? Went Biden and all riled up. Thing is, I don't even think Biden knows where he's at anymore. There's no amount of medication they can pump into this dude in the past 5 minutes that's going to help him. Like I said, he's got to have a KO punch, and I don't see any of that happening.
It is now time for the candidates to deliver their closing statements as predetermined by a coin toss. We're going to begin with you, President Biden. You have 2 minutes.
We've made significant progress from the debacle that was left by President Trump in his last term. We find ourselves in a situation where, number one, we have to make sure that we have a fair tax system. I ask anyone out there in the audience or anyone out watching this debate, do you think the tax system is fair? The fact is that I said nobody even making under $400,000 had a single penny increase in their taxes and will not. And if I'm reelected, that'll be the case again. But this guy has increased your taxes because of the deficit, number one.
What?
He's increased inflation because of the debacle he left after the way he handled the pandemic. And he finds himself in a position where he now wants to tax you more by putting a 10% tariff on everything that comes into the United States of America. What I did, for example, he wants to get rid of the ability of Medicare for us to be able to negotiate drug prices with the big pharma companies. Well, guess what? We got it down to $35 for insulin instead of $400. No more than $2,000 for every senior, no matter how much prescription they need. You know what that did? That reduced the federal debt by $160 billion over 10 years because the government doesn't have to pay these exorbitant prices. I'm going to make that available to every senior all along. It's happening now, and everybody in America. He wants to get rid of that. I'm going to make sure that we have child care. We're going to significantly increase the credits people have for child care. I'm going to make sure we do something about what we're doing on lead pipes and all the things that are causing health problems for people across the country. We're going to continue to fight to bring down inflation and give people a break.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, you now have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
Like so many politicians, this man is just a complainer. He said, we want to do this, we want to do that, we want to get rid of this tax, that tax.
But
he doesn't do anything. He doesn't do. All he does is make our country unsafe by allowing millions and millions of people to pour in. Our military doesn't respect him. We look like fools in Afghanistan. We didn't stop Israel. It was such a horrible thing that would have never happened. It should have never happened. Iran was broke. Anybody that did business with Iran, including China, they couldn't do business with the United States. They all passed. Iran was broke. They had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah, for terror, no money whatsoever. Again, Ukraine should have never happened. He talks about all this stuff, but he didn't do it. For 3.5 years, we're living in hell. We have the Palestinians and we have everybody else rioting all over the place. You talk about Charlottesville. This is 100 times Charlottesville, 1,000 times. The whole country is exploding because of you, because they don't respect you, and they have to respect their president, and they don't respect you throughout the world. What we did was incredible. We rebuilt the military. We got the largest tax cut in history, the largest regulation cut in history. The reason he's got jobs is because I cut the regulations that gave jobs, but he's putting a lot of those regulations back on. All of the things that we've done, nobody's never seen anything like. Even from a medical standpoint, right to try, where we can try space-age materials instead of going to Asia or going to Europe and trying to get when you're terminally ill. Now you can go and you can get something. You sign a document. They've been trying to get it for 42 years. But you know what we did for the military was incredible. Choice for our soldiers, where our soldiers, instead of waiting for 3 months to see a doctor, can go out and get themselves fixed up and readied up and take care of themselves, and they're living. And that's why I had the highest approval rating in the history of the VA. So all of these things, we're in a failing nation, but it's not going to be failing anymore. We're going to make it great again.
Thank you, former President Trump, President Biden. Stay with us because we have full analysis of this debate. Anderson Cooper and Aaron Burnett starts now on CNN.
Wait, that's it?
And so the first presidential debate of the 2024 election season is in the book.
That was weird. I spent half the time trying to figure out what Joe Biden was saying, and the other half trying to figure out what Joe Biden was saying while Donald Trump was talking, and then having to go back and listen to that. Spent a lot of time confused, and that's weird because, yeah, it wasn't even fair. It's like a T-ball team playing the Boston Red Sox. It doesn't happen. DNC is going to hold a vote at their convention, and they're going to vote for who they want to be the Democratic nominee. I see it coming. It's not going to be Joe versus Trump, because if it was Joe versus Trump, Joe would probably get the lowest amount of votes in U.S. history. And how did I say this? Now, watching that, I feel like I have gotten dumber and dumber. And I want to apologize because I feel like all of you got dumber and dumber. That's what we have coming up for our future leader, number 46 or 47, because Biden's 46 and Trump would be 47 and 45. For those of you that can't math. Right? I might, I'm gonna have to get a super special live tomorrow to make up for this bullshit. So I got a couple I want to probably go over. One of them's going to be a kid that's mentally disabled who has decided to meet up with minors, and it's a police interview where he admits to more fucked up shit. So we might do that one tomorrow to make up, like I said, for this bullshit. Anyway, I'm not telling you how to think, I'm just telling you to think. You guys heard what they said, you guys heard what I said, you saw what other